The Z to Z Podcast.
Good morning, good evening, or good day, and welcome to the Z to Z Podcast, the home for Xbox achievement hunters and Gamerscore junkies. I'm your host, Brandon Freeman. Thank you so much for listening. At Z to Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining Gamerscore. We do news, reviews, and interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. This week, we look to get back on track with our normal achievement-focused show, and that's not to say there won't be news, but we spend a lot more time on achievements, and maybe we get on a tangent here or there. But we also happen to have a very special guest that will hopefully spark your interest. Wink, wink. You can find show notes for this show, as well as previous shows, on our website, z2z.com. This is episode 28. You can also contact us with questions and comments on Twitter. That's at Z2Z, or email us directly, contact@z2z.com. Today's show is brought to you by the achievement Indecent Exposure from the game Elder Scrolls Online Tamriel Unlimited. This achievement was nominated by X Towers, also known as Garrett, and he gives us a cheeky little achievement. Those of you who are familiar with the Elder Scrolls games know that you can pretty much interact with everything. You can also pretty much steal anything too, but that is a crime, and guards do not take kindly to criminals and will chase you down if spotted. This clever achievement asks you to put on stolen pieces of armor over every piece of your body. You don't need a weapon, ring, or necklace, but you should have stolen loot everywhere. I've seen varying opinions on what that covers. Be safe, cover it all. The trickiest part is going to be the waste item. You can find those in like bags and crates floating around that belong to other people. Simply go in and take it. Once you have a fully adorned person in stolen gear, get yourself into trouble. The guards will come up and accost you and notice all of the stolen loot that you have. You can either fight your way out of it or pay the fine and return your stolen goods. Wait! Poof! Instant nudity. It's like the achievement Toast provides an audible censorship bar for you. And to quote X Towers, talk about a strip search. Is that a stolen fire staff in your pocket, or are you just happy to see me? Special thanks to developer Bethesda and publisher ZeniMax. And thank you, Garrett, for that great suggestion. And if you, our fantastic listeners, have your own suggestion for an achievement sponsor, please let us know. You can contact us via Facebook, Twitter, of course, at Z2Z, ZEDTOZED, or be like Garrett and contact us through our email, contact@z2z.com. You know, you could even leave it in a podcast review site. So, let's get this show moving with an introduction of my co-hosts. All right, and tonight I'm joined by Terrigan over across the way. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Pretty good. Yourself?
Fantastic. Thank you much. And, of course, we have Crandy. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Awesome. What are you drinking this evening?
I've got some tea in my cat mug. So you got a cat on there, going for some milk on a table. Cat shouldn't be on the table.
Oh, and, that rascally cat.
Some paw prints on there. So it's a good one. It's not a funny one. I just like this one.
It sounds like an old lady mug.
Yep.
Nice.
Pretty much.
Well, fantastic. Hey, so I want to start off the show by mentioning that we've got a great interview lined up for later in the show that I'm really excited about. Aside from that, we completed the first Playing Zed challenge with the community. And so I wanted to go through the kind of the recap on what I've played, but before that, I'm ready to issue my next challenge, and I've gotten the confirmation via TA private message. It's going to be against Spanky and Spronkle, and it's going to start on June 29th, and I'm going to let it run for 2 weeks, roughly 2 weeks, not full, but because I need to finish this game in this time period. This isn't one to just go and leave, and it's BioShock. I'm going to.
Time.
I know. I'm going to make a concerted effort to actually beat this game, at least play through the story. And so I wanted to give myself longer than 1 week to do it, and I'm starting it a little late because with the Project Spark talk and stuff, I need to go back and really focus and just finish these last 2 achievements in Project Spark. And so that'll give me some time before I kick this new one off, and I can just focus on BioShock and then hopefully beat Spanky and Spronkle. But until that point, we'll see. So the last Playing Zed recap, it was me and CS Geek Squad. And as I mentioned on the show, he started right away and got moving. And then he forgot about it. He revisited, but it was too little too late. And so here's the numbers.
You caught him?
CS Geek Squad started with 24 achievements. He earned 6 this week and played for 6 hours. He scored 140 gamer score, 230 TA, played 16 matches, gained 5 levels in progression, and was the MVP in one of those games. I love achievement tracking, by the way, because this is it's so easy to do all this. On the flip side, then, I started with 25, so I had one ahead of him, but I earned 8 achievements this week, played 9 hours of games, 240 gamer score, 434 TA. I played 38 matches, gained 12 levels, including 1 regen. I went from Gen 1 to Gen 2, or Gen 0 to Gen 1, whatever. And I was MVP in 8 of those games. So I think across the board, now, whether or not he could have made that up in the 3 extra hours I played, I don't know. But I think across the board, I won this one. It was fun. I was really glad to go back and play a lot of Titanfall. I have my roadmap set up for okay, here's the guns you need to use for the Gen 2 and how to move forward. I don't know when I'm ever going to come back to this, but if anyone out there wants to do another run at me in Titanfall, and you're just happen to be a Gen 2 with 33 achievements, or in that area, then sure, fair game. But we'll see what ends up happening. As far as other games I've been playing this week, I played a couple of games for the Achievement Hunt's birthday tag that is wrapping up here for June. Only a few more days left, and so I needed to fill some holes. And so I played Organic Panic and Foul Play and Ultratron. Now, what ties all 3 of those games together is they all have couch co-op components, and so I played with my son on them. And Organic Panic is really difficult. That is not an easy co-op game, certainly for a 7-year-old. Ultratron, same thing. He doesn't do good with bullet hells. But Foul Play, with those 3D brawlers, he was having a lot of fun with. I think he got bored with the concept because I was skipping through all the dialogue. I mean, we don't need to be talking about demons and stuff. That's a little above his age grade right now. But we had a lot of fun playing the content. Finally, the biggest news of the week, my week at least, I finally broke my curse. It took forever, but Oryx went down. I finally beat the hard mode raid. I had an awesome crew. So our 6-man crew went in. We would have beaten him on our first try, but we had a little Bungie magic in there that kind of ruined it for everybody.
That Bungie magic.
Bungie magic. But we did get it on our 3rd try, and it was efficient. I mean, it was, and I'm a good runner. So if you're familiar with the mechanics, I'm a good runner. That's all I know how to do, but I can do it really well. And so if I just have dudes who can do the shooting and setting up the bubbles and stuff, they're so mechanically driven. It's a really, really fun raid boss. And so I am just so happy to be done with that now. I have 1 achievement left. I am dangerously close to finishing this one, so I might try to squeeze this in the few days between this and BioShock, but this is another one I have to get done before August, because they're going to split my characters, and I don't think I'll be able to go back and get that stack nice and easy. So
which achievement do you have left?
I have to max out my warlock. Max out all the bubbles.
Not terribly difficult.
No. Yeah, super easy. Just got to commit the time to it. Really is what I'm at, and that's kind of the thing. Is where do I find the time? But we'll figure it out. So, Crandy, what have you been up to?
I've been pretty busy this week. I'm busier than I thought I was. Looking back, I finished Monopoly, which is the original Monopoly that was too expensive on the 360, and that is the last game in the Monopoly series. So I'm done every Monopoly game for Xbox platforms. So that's kind of cool. Something I've been working on for a while. I'm a big Monopoly fan.
Put that series on your homepage.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't do the series on the homepage. Maybe we'll start. I started and finished The Walking Dead Michonne. I'll talk about that in Shovelware Cemetery this week. Finished Life is Strange. I finished the story. I think I finished the story last week. Maybe not.
Yeah.
You mentioned it last week.
You said you were going to sell off all your games.
Well, I did. I don't have any left.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I don't play games anymore.
I must have missed the sale.
I don't. Well, no, just it's coming. I didn't sell them. I'm going to sell them. It's coming. It'll be the biggest sale TA has ever seen.
Right.
Maybe I finished those last. No, I didn't finish those last week. No. Anyway, I played Barbie and her sister's Puppy Rescue. Fantastic game. Haven't finished that one yet. Still working on it. And I hit a kind of a special milestone this week. I unlocked over 9,000 achievements. And
what achievement was the next one?
Well, the 9,000 first achievement was the achievement over 9,000 in Flight Control on Windows Phone.
That's brilliant.
Which was also the completion. See, I didn't even set this up in advance. Like, I just searched because I thought, I don't usually do the special achievement things. But I was like, maybe I can find an easy one that's over 9,000 because I know there's a bunch of them. So I type in it's over 9,000 using the number 9,000. Like, okay, well, all these are like far in. They're too far in because at this point I'm 2 achievements away. So I have to be able to do this like right off the bat. I'm like, okay, well, none of those work. So then I type in 9,000 spelled out. I'm like, oh, Flight Control. I want to finish that one. I'm almost done. I can be achievement 9,001. So there, Flight Control is finished. Nice. I played Doom, and I finished the tutorials in Project Spark, and I have just 1 achievement left in each version now, which I will not get for another 3 weeks because that's how long it's going to take because I have to do the weeklies. But other than that, I'm done. So that was it for me this week.
It's pretty good.
And I played Big Buck Hunter for like 2 minutes.
It's kind of random.
Yeah, I thought I wanted to play it, and then I was like, no, I don't want to do this right now because I've got 1 achievement left, and it's really difficult. It's not difficult; it's just annoying. Like because the aiming in that game just doesn't work very well. So yeah, it's gonna sit there for a while, and eventually I'll just go back and do it in a sitting or something. Wasn't feeling it that day.
I don't blame you. I totally get that. So let's move into Terrigan. Terrigan, how have you been occupying your time?
The lot of Leapfrog, actually.
I can't believe you're still kicking. That's crazy.
Well, I did say I had a plan, so I'm still going to be kicking for a while. I'm pretty sure I've got a lot of achievements lined up, which will keep me going for at least another 2 weeks or so. I'm finding now that we're getting to the pointy end of the competition that it's not really worth planning too far ahead, simply because the ratios actually drop. Because the ratios
are they dropping that much?
Yeah, they do. Well, the thing is that I actually had I had 2 set up for the 11.0 milestone. I had actually 2 in Elite Dangerous that I had available to me to get, and 1 was actually available for the next milestone, like the next 11.2 milestone as well. And I logged on. It was Friday evening or Thursday evening, and it was about half an hour before the cutoff, and I started working on this one because I thought, okay, it's great, I'll get it out of the way. Just as the cutoff goes, I'll unlock the achievement, no problem. So it was a thing in Elite Dangerous. I had to go to a particular location, find this particular thing called a barnacle, and then scan it. That's fine. I'm going to that location and flying around the planet and spending all this time, get down there, find the barnacle, scan it in. It's about about quarter past, half past when the cutoff was. Get the achievement. Great. I go on to TA. Oh, the ratio on that one's dropped by about 0.4%, and it's actually under the 11 ratio.
Oh, no.
Like, no! So I look at my backup, and my backup has also fallen under the 11 ratio. It's like, don't! So I had to go to another one. Fortunately, I've got a lot lined up, so I was able to pull from a little bit higher in my list and get something. But yeah, you kind of have to really play it by sort of ear with a lot of these achievements, particularly as these are often achievements that aren't that difficult. It's just not a lot of people have unlocked them. And due to that, as soon as people start unlocking them as part of the competition, a recalc happens and then they drop drastically because, you've basically added 20% of people who've unlocked that achievement. So it's a little bit sort of it almost feels a bit... It feels a bit random sometimes. You kind of got to just basically double check every achievement before you go for it. So anyway, still kicking. But yeah, basically, there's not much point planning too far in advance, I'm finding, just because of the ratio recalculations. So other games that I played during the week.
You got to start on Gra, There's not much worry about that one.
True. Yeah, true. I should...
you can get it done in time. It's easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, the competition will be going for at least 3 years, I think. So.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. So I played just in most of these games I will mention are primarily for the ratios, except for the ones that I'll indicate. But Pool Nation FX has a bunch. It was actually released as a Games with Gold a while ago on the Xbox One. And there were a bunch of very difficult achievements, and this is a familiar story. There were a bunch of very difficult achievements which were then nerfed with a patch, and people who have started the game on Games with Gold and never got those achievements haven't bothered to go back to them, so the ratios have stayed high, but they're actually relatively easy achievements.
So is that completion easy now? I wasn't aware that they were nerfed.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't call it easy, but it's certainly not ridiculously difficult. For example, there's one of the higher ratio achievements is for getting, I think, 12 minutes in endurance without your aiming turned off. It's called like Zen 12 or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's become a lot easier. And there's a little trick, actually. You use a piece of string across the middle of your screen, essentially lining up with your cue, and you can use that to aim.
Clever.
So there's a little trick to that, but the actual requirements, like the timing, I think, of the endurance mode has been made a lot less tight.
Okay, so the achievements weren't changed; the game just got easier.
That's right. Yeah. So in fact, I did my first run of that, and I think I got 8 minutes in the endurance mode without the aims on. Aiming on.
I see here. This one, Super Zen no aims, reach 20 minutes in endurance. So.
Yeah, well, that one, that's with aiming on.
No, that one's with no aid.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I haven't got that one, I thought. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you had 8 minutes in your first try, that's...
Yeah. So I think it was like a 12-minute one, which I was going for the first time. But there was another one I went for, which was getting 20 minutes in endurance flat. So I got that one on my second try. On my first try, I got to like 14 or 15 minutes or something like that. So it was pretty straightforward. And that's having not done anything other than dive the game. So
yeah, that sounds not too bad then.
Yeah, so definitely one to look at if you want some high scores, at least whilst the ratios are still high. Another one I looked at, just because it's a brand new release, and as such, a lot of the achievements start off very high, but will die very quickly, and a bunch were in my sort of range. Mighty Number 9, that's thanks to Freem, I happen to have access to the game. And I played through a little bit of that, played through a level or two just to sort of suss out how difficult some of the achievements that I was looking at were going to be. And I eventually decided not to go for that just because of it was going to take a bit too long. But interesting caveat with that, I started the game and I had a look at the game options, as I do, and one of the game options was to modify the amount of lives you have. And I thought, that's interesting. I thought I'd just play with that, and I moved it up, like it starts on 2 or something like that, and put it up to like 9. Okay. Didn't give me any warning about achievements or anything like that, so I thought, sweet. Go in, play the game, finish the first level, do a bunch of other stuff. No achievements are unlocking. Great. Okay. Go back into those settings, change the setting back down to 2, redo the first level. Achievement doesn't unlock. Right. So I think that's a bit of a public service announcement. If you modify that setting, you cannot unlock achievements at all. There's nothing I could unlock anything after that. I actually had to go and completely erase my save and start fresh to get to actually start unlocking.
Is there not a reset to default option or something?
Not for that, no. There's a reset to default for all the other pages except for that one.
Interesting.
And even when I set it back down to 2, which was what it started off on, it didn't allow any progress in any achievements. So yeah, just something to be aware of.
Gross.
Yeah, but yeah, I unlocked a bunch in that after that little hiccup, and the ones I wanted to go for were going to be a bit too tricky or a bit too consuming to get to. So that was when I moved on to Pool Nation after that. Going back in my history in between, I'm sort of slowly working my way through that game. I'm finding I kind of, after I've repeated the same level about 15, 20 times in a row, dying at the same frustrating little bit for it, I just have to put the game down. So I'm working on it slowly. And also my progression in that one's gone a bit weird. I paid attention to you guys with the deaths one, and I actually had a look at my death counter, and it was not going up. Some of the solutions for it actually think or recommend that you try and get the 100 deaths in a single session. So if you start the game and stop the game, it seems to either lose progression or it just won't count progression.
Yeah, that's what we found too, is pretty much those counting ones, you have to delete your save and then just do it all in one session.
Yeah, which is what I did. I'd gotten through the first sort of 2 areas, I think, and then I erased my save and just went through and got the kill one, the deaths one. But what was interesting is when I replayed through the first set of levels, the second set of levels started giving me progression against the memories again. Which indicates to me that it had stopped giving me progression against it at some point during my first playthrough.
Well, some people were saying when I was reading that sometimes they count twice. So you may have gotten the glitch in your favor that's also not in your favor. So it's kind of,
well, it's weird though. It's just
that
since I finished that section up and saved and then went back into the game, and it's not giving me any progression in for those memory things anymore, for ones that I've never seen. So that's a bit frustrating.
and that's what happened to us too.
So
same thing.
It's a little bit frustrating, but it's a good game. Certainly a bit challenging. Just working out all the puzzles, but working my way through it. Killer Instinct, I've been taking advantage of the DLC achievements for the 200 matches, basically just turboing my way through a lot of those for the high ratios as they come up. Not much else to report there. I sort of started learning how to play the game a little bit because there are some of the other later achievements which you kind of actually need to know a little bit about what you're doing.
Just a little bit.
Yep. Elite Dangerous, of course. As far as achievements go, I basically only unlocked a few, but of course, most of what you do just adds progression to what you're doing. If anybody cares, I'm basically working on my Federation rank at the moment, and there's also a expedition being planned now. Elite Dangerous is, of course, essentially got a entire simulator of all 400 billion stars of the galaxy in it. So traveling around does take quite a long time, and people go on expeditions. And there's actually there was a big one called the Distant Worlds Expedition that wrapped up. Took about 3 or 4 months of time, actually just flying around outside of the bubble of civilized space. But there's going to be an Xbox One focused version of that called Lost Stars, and I've joined that along with Planting 42 and some other TA regulars. So I'm basically getting ready for that, and we'll be spending quite a lot of time out in the black, so to speak. So if anybody's interested in joining that, if they're an Elite Dangerous player, get in contact with me and I'll point them to the location. There is a thread on TA about it as well. I'll put that into the show notes. And the other thing I picked up was just Rare Replay, which is very, very quickly running out of valid achievements for Leapfrog. So we're going to start seeing people dropping off, I think, because the games where the easy achievements are no longer yielding those achievements.
Just a heads up for you, too, is I don't think the ratio has dropped, but the one for... there's an achievement in Grab by the Ghoulies. It takes a total of maybe 4 or 5 hours to get it.
Yep. Yeah, is that the Complete Challenge 21 or something?
Huge ratio, yeah. So for that one, you have to beat the game, I think that unlocks Challenge 21. If not, you have to do all the challenges, which takes like 30 minutes or something. But then,
I've looked into it just because of the ratio. Yeah, you do have to beat the game, then go through all the previous 20 challenge modes as well, then beat Challenge 21.
Yeah, just so you know, like Challenge 21 took me like 2.5, 3 hours to do. So it's not that hard. Like it's pretty easy for the ratio, and I don't know why the ratio is so absurdly high on that one.
I suspect it's the thing with Reverie players. I think a lot of people cherry pick out of it, and they will pick, like they'll buy it because they're fans of some of the games, and they will play that game to death and get all the achievements in it, and maybe dabble in a few of the others, and then they stop playing. And just due to the sheer number of achievements in the game, that means that some of maybe the less popular games or whatnot will end up with the higher ratios.
Well, and I don't know. There's a couple other things it has going against it too. Is one, Grab by the Ghoulies is not a good game. It was. I feel like it was basically just a tech demo to show off how good the Xbox's graphics were, and two, it's really, really frustrating. I had to put it. Okay, well, most of the game is a total breeze, super easy. There's like 3 rooms that will take 2/3 of the time of the entire game to do those 3 rooms.
Yeah,
and the one room I was stuck on for at least an hour, and like I just had to put it down and walk away for a minute.
Yeah,
but I still did it first try, so it wasn't too bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. Well, that pretty much wraps up my my gaming week.
Yeah, I mean, there's only like 100 people left as of recording, so you.
Oh, they actually managed to get down to. I thought they still hadn't quite hit the top 100.
It's 102, but I mean, come on.
It's going to happen tonight for me anyway. Yeah. Something about 3 hours. Cool. All right, now we get on to the really long-winded, interesting part for some anyway. Games added. Alrighty, well, obviously the games with gold, The Crew added, and I also picked up a couple on sale, This War of Mine, The Little Ones, and King's Quest Complete Edition, or Complete Collection. And then there's all the games that I've purchased for the Balrog, the big bean dive event that I'm going to be doing, and that's actually not very far away now, so I think the dates are going to be July 2nd through 10th.
Yep.
But the hub for that I don't think's opened up yet, but that will be the day. So the games that I picked up during the week, Quantum Rush Champions, Masquerade the Baubles of Doom, which is actually a new XBLA title on 360 that I'd never seen.
Well, it was originally cancelled. And then it just out of nowhere came, because it was announced like 2 or 3 years ago. And because I remember it had a thread in Game Info forever. And then I think we eventually just moved it somewhere, and then it was like, oh, here's Masquerade, and now it's also on Xbox One. Remember that game that nobody cared about that was canceled? Here it is.
Yeah. So it's just suddenly appeared, and as with all late and all recent 360 releases, they don't seem to get a lot of starters. So that one is on my Balrog list. Soul Axiom, Aru's Awakening, Beat Explosion for Connect, In Space We Brawl, the full Arsenal edition, Kaiju Panic, or Kaiju? Yeah, Kaiju Panic. McDroid, Replay, VHS is Not Dead, 1001 Spikes, Defense Technica, Gunworld 2, Gear Gauntlet, Mimic Arena, Heart Z Co-op or Co-Hope Puzzles, Color Symphony 2, Yasai Ninja, and lastly, Tetrobot and Co. So I'm getting close to having my list finalised. I've got a few more digital games to pick up, and I think I've got some others on the way, physical. But I've almost got my as much as I'm going to get of my Balrog list.
Yeah, you have your box from me if it hasn't arrived yet.
Yeah, I turned up yesterday. Actually, yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, good.
Thanks for that.
There you go. And so I'd like to think that the next comment is in regards to your focusing on the Balrog, but we all know that's not the case. I mean, you got a lot on your plate.
Yeah, so it's sort of it had been on my mind for a while, and I think particularly with the extended E3 episode, and also my partner going, "I miss you." It kind of broke the camel's back to say, well, okay, I need to kind of dial back my commitment to the podcast a little bit. And as such, it was a bit of a hard decision to make, but I've decided to step down from hosting the podcast, and I'll just be involved in the production side of things. So I'll still be mixing and posting all the episodes and so forth, but I won't be actually on the show proper, except for some smaller segments, which I'll be recording myself. So things like the leaderboard roundup and maybe doing some work with Joe on the side as well. So. So this today is actually going to be my last episode on the regular show. So, yeah.
So it's a bummer, and we're all disappointed, but we absolutely need your editing prowess to keep these shows alive and float. So, what has to give, we understand. Now, what this does do is open up a spot on the show, because I think between Randy and I, we'd like to have a third, either regular or get some community people in. So listen to the, upcoming shows and events and, how we cycle people in and get more exposure to the community. So if you guys have ever wanted to be a part of a show, if you guys are interested in helping out, there are some opportunities up ahead. So what is when a door closes, a window opens type thing. So here we go.
Yeah.
But,
so I guess the other thing about my exit as well is it will allow me to concentrate on other aspects of the community, which is say forums and leaderboard tracking and that sort of thing, which I've just found I've had been finding it difficult to find the time to commit to those kind of things. So certainly, if I'm not recording the show on a Saturday for me, that'll give me a bit of time to look into those things.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, get this thing really cooking.
Then when we get big and rich and famous, you can just we can all quit our jobs, and we can just do Z to Z full time.
We're so close.
We're like that close.
Yeah.
Get some forums up, and we're set.
Yeah,
that's only a month away.
So,
it's just a break.
Before you're off, we have 2 Twitter questions that we need you to answer. And one was asked of me by NBA Kirkland. He says, "Hey, what turbo controllers have you used, Terragon, on your Xbox One, and how do you like them?"
Well, I have not actually got a turbo, like an actual turbo controller for the Xbox One, and as far as I'm aware, unless something's changed recently, there isn't actually one specifically for it, or at least certainly not an official one. There may well be a Daytel one or something like that, but there isn't actually one. So what I've ended up doing is I have this device called a Cronus Max, which is essentially just you plug a controller through this device into your Xbox One or any other console for that matter, and basically what it does is it acts like a man in the middle sort of device and will modify or act on the input from the controller and then feed info to the console. In this case, it's a very simple sort of, it's actually completely programmable. You can put lots of different things on there. There's actually a forum on TA dedicated to this as well, just on some programs that you can put in for various different games. One of the simpler ones is essentially just a turbo fire. So basically you hold the button on the controller and it will just repeatedly press that button. So that's what I use. It's a pretty nice device and it's very handy with its programmable abilities, and that's probably what I would recommend, simply because it can also be used on an Xbox 360, a PlayStation, and even on PC, I think, in certain circumstances. So, it's a pretty nice device. And
you can swap the controllers too, right? Like if you wanted to use like a PS4 controller, you could do that, or like one controller on the 360 or vice versa.
So any wired controller basically will allow you to mimic. So you basically the first thing you do is you would say plug in a say it was on a 360. You'd need to have a wired 360 controller to start this off, but you could plug in a 360 controller through the device. It grabs the device ID for that device and will mimic that device from then on. Then you can actually plug any other controller into it, and it will still act to the console as if that original device is plugged in. So yeah, you can put anything in, like a PlayStation controller or whatever.
Fascinating. And then finally, kind of as your send off here, I've had a conversation with Big L via Facebook IM, and apart from talking about the E3 show and about how negative Raincloud Randy is, he poses this question to us. He asks, how did the podcast originate? Where did the three of you meet, and who came up with the idea? Essentially, what's the origin story behind the Z2Z podcast? And the reason I think it's so important to have Terrigan answer this is because it was you. It was your idea to get this thing up and going. So, I mean, how did you come up with the concept?
Yeah, well, I sort of have to give credit to the Achievement Hounds community podcast in a lot of ways for the impetus to look into doing a podcast. And this will be a slightly negative comment, but I was finding the community podcast was a bit sort of frustrating to listen to with things like sound quality and just content control and that sort of thing.
And it's a lot of like user generated podcasts are like that though, where they don't take pride in the sound quality. They don't take pride in presenting content that people want to listen to.
And certainly I didn't want to. I don't want to, say there's nothing against the guys who were doing it. They were doing what they wanted to do, and it was it is what it is.
Hell, I was one of the guys.
Yeah, exactly. And the problem I found with that is that it was essentially becoming a replacement for the original Achievement Hounds podcast, which was something that I was a reasonably passionate listener to, and that has reasonable sound quality and content control and so forth. So that sort of dropped away, as Kyle, we had him on the last episode, said he was basically just life got in the way for the most of the hosts, and the community podcast essentially started to fill that gap, but was a bit frustrating in some ways to sort of listen to. And I thought, well, I'd suggested a few ways that it could be improved and things like that. And it kind of sparked the idea that maybe I could do it myself, or maybe do another one of my own. And so I'd had that before I'd even mentioned it to you. I think, Frame, I'd had that sort of idea floating around in my head that maybe I could do a podcast probably for 6 months or so. Back in 2015?
Yeah,
2015.
The fall.
So yeah, it was sort of around mid-year, I guess. I was I had this idea floating around in my head about it. There was a point I think I sort of reached out to you for some reason. I think you were talking to me about some of the contests
yes,
to run over there, and I think we ended up starting to talk about podcasts, and that's kind of where the idea seeded.
Right.
I think.
Well, we had kind of talked about it a bit too. I think this was before it was like serious though.
Yeah, so I think I mentioned it to you, Crandy, and I'd actually spoken to quite a number of people, like probably 5 or 6 different people about just possibly starting a podcast, and would you be interested in being a host on one if we did, and that sort of thing. So I know you were one of those. I think I'm pretty sure Redemption Denied, I think, was one of those. So yeah, I reached out to a few people just to kind of discuss the idea, but it finally kind of
because I know when we talked about it, it was like long ways off.
Yeah, so we finally kind of clicked with Frame, and we started to plan it, and that's where it went from there. What's your side of things, Frame?
I mean, that's about it, right? You, as reaching out to you, just kind of talking, and said, I do want to take this serious, and not that I wanted to be the host. I mean, when we actually started. And I hosted the first episode 1. You hosted episode 2. The idea was that we'd go back and forth, and
and then I wasn't even supposed to be on the show,
right? And
just kind of got thrown in there.
And so and then when we moved on to 3, it was let's just try and stick kind of what we're good with, and turns out I like to talk and hear the sound of my own voice, and so it was
you're very good at talking, and I think that shows, and certainly your experiences with the Achievement Hounds community podcast definitely helped with that, just to kind of get your practice in. And I know you've mentioned it in the past several times that they've really were instrumental in giving you some good experience just in doing podcasts and running them. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now, here we are. And I mean, I'm already following news all week. I'm already, in the Achievement hunting community, all those types of things. So it just gives me this outlet to talk to people, specifically you guys, but of course all of our listeners too, and interact with them. Like, it's just, it perpetuated what this hobby that I have, and it's, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. It's completely obsessive at this point, but when
we're this close to quitting our jobs,
right?
That's what you get. That's what it takes.
You've already sold all your games.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously I'm gonna be leaving here too. I got no games left. I don't play games anymore. Just Life is Strange.
Right.
Big sale coming though, TA.
So I mean, that's kind of the origination of the show.
Well, the other thing too that I should mention is I don't think I had ever talked to you before, Brandon, before the first podcast.
Nope.
So that's the first time I had ever communicated with you, was just when I got called into the Skype call.
Yeah,
and I mean, using our primitive Stone Age technology.
Right. If you've listened to the show, I mean, we wouldn't even be friends because we just argue all the time. So the only thing
that's the only thing keeping us together.
Loosely tying this together is the podcast, which puts us head to head, and we just argue. I try to dissipate all the overcast and cloudiness. Which
and I think I'd be like a storm.
Yeah, I think I've actually had Crandy in mind for at least as a rotating. When we originally started the podcast idea, it was meant to be just Freem and myself, and we'd have a sort of a rotating third. And so Crandy, you were pulled in, I think, as kind of the first of our, just sort of trialing the idea, and you were pulled in as kind of our first of a rotating kind of cast, if you like, And I particularly wanted you on the show because I knew that you had a lot of intrinsic background on some of the, particularly on rare games, and also some of the more difficult rare achievements, and also a good insight into the unobtainables and that sort of thing. So it was, it was a bit of a no.
It was a bit of a no-brainer. Discos planned originally, or is that something that kind of came in?
Yeah, it was certainly, I think, one of the ideas. Certainly, there is no other podcast that I'm aware of that regularly talks about achievements that are no longer obtainable or so forth. So it was
I don't
definitely
think there's anywhere that talks about that, of anything. Except
for the achievements itself.
The notification system is good because prior to that, there was. I did a blog for like 4 months, and then I just didn't have time to keep up with it anymore.
Yeah, so it was certainly when we were. Going through brainstorming the ideas for segments for the show, certainly talking about discontinued and unobtainables was part of the plan, I'm pretty sure, or pretty early in the plan. Coming up with a name for it, that obviously I've gone through the history, the rationale for that, the history of that, going way back to the random to-do list set up with Facial Lafleur. Yeah, so I thought you'd be a good resource to bring in for that, particularly as I know you're on the GI team as well, and you had a very strong interest in those particular things. But yeah, you just had a lot of good knowledge that I thought could really add to the show, which turned out to be correct, and so you've now become basically a permanent part of the cast.
I never left.
Well, and I certainly think the way that you two work together with Frandy's kind of Frandy.
Well,
yeah.
I mean that does work. We can have that cool reality show couple name.
Yep.
Well, Frandy is one person. Is Frowning Randy.
We could also be Cream. Frandy and Cream.
Almost sounds like a drink. But just the way, the dynamic between you two, Randy being a fairly sort of negative guy and down on all the things, and Freem being the kind of positive guy, I think that dynamic actually works really well. That bit of conflict actually makes a lot of the show work, I think.
It lets you see both
Big
sides.
L liked it. Did you get to read all that, message?
I like disagreement.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, it was a good comment from Big L.
Yeah, so Big L, I thought you'd be more on the negative Nancy side.
No way.
That's my vibe I got, but I guess I was wrong. We're not going to hang out in New York now. Thought we were just going to get together in Rain Cloud. No.
Not so much.
No.
Well, Tarragon, thanks again for all that you've done on air, of course, and what you continue to do off air. I mean, like I said, you're not going to hear the last of Tarragon on the show, but you'll certainly hear the last, likely one of the last times I'll say, and of course, joining me tonight is Tarragon. I'm sure it'll come up because at some point you're going to get the issue.
I'm sure I'll drop in. It'd probably be once a month or once every other month or something like that. But there'll certainly be segments. The leaderboard segment in particular, I'm passionate about doing that, so I'll be recording that for the start of the month, regardless. And there will be some special sort of reports. I think we're going to go into. I won't go too much into detail with it, but I think Joe and I will sit down and do some special sort of focus features for the show as well. So
yeah, that'll be great.
Still be hearing my voice, but just not part of the main cast
Cool.
anymore.
All right. Well, so we'll move into the rest of listener feedback, but wanted to give Tarragon the proper send off. So thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, so with that news about Tarragon and closing out his piece, we will continue to move on with the rest of the show. We've got some listener feedback to touch on here. Start off with a comment off of Tarragon's blog by Oz Bundy Boy. He says, in regards to that Father's Day achievement we just had, you think you might be able to recycle this week's achievement for the week of Father's Day Down Under, which I don't know if you knew, but Father's Day is in September for the Australians. And don't worry, Oz, we have another. I actually had 3 achievements I wanted to do, but with all the fun Dead Rising discussions and Dead Rising 4 on the horizon, I thought, let's go with Dead Rising 1 first. But I got a good one for Australian Father's Day, which is weird because I don't know why you have another day. You think the greeting card companies would just kind of all line that up at the same time, but... maybe
I guess it's close enough.
Maybe September's a lull for you guys. I mean, I guess what do we have any reason?
Well,
to
there's Canadian and American Thanksgiving too, which has always confused me. I don't really get. I've looked it up before, but I don't remember what it is, and I don't get it.
Wait, what's Canadian Thanksgiving?
I think Canadian Thanksgiving is in like October. I don't even remember. It's like October.
What are you guys thankful for?
I don't know. The turkey dinners or something. I don't know.
Did you exploit the Indians like we did? Or the Native Americans, I guess?
There was plenty of that in Canada.
Yeah.
Probably not quite as bad as it is in the U.S. Yeah, it's October 10th was Thanksgiving 2016.
Does it move?
I think it's like the second whatever of the month or something. I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, the second Monday in October. Yeah.
What's that, a Monday? Weird.
Yeah, and you get... No, that's Easter. Yeah. I don't know. I've looked it up before. I don't remember what. It's weird.
Where it come from. All right.
Move on.
Well, this came from, I think it's Chaz3? Chaz the Third? Or just Chazel? Looks like Chaz the Third. And it was also another blog comment. This one in regards to Project Spark, which, of course... we have an interview toward the end of the show here for. Said, I want to catch up on all the podcasts before I made this comment, and I finally have. All I can say is I knew about Project Spark servers closing, and I was out. I am free. I accepted I wasn't going to finish it, and I was happy. It wouldn't be the only game I haven't finished. The Bean Dive has pretty much stuck me in the 30 to 40% completion range, but then you guys had to go ahead and talk about it and pull me back in wanting to finish it. I was so happy, and I hate you guys. Smiley face. Yes, the podcast is awesome. Keep up the good work. I'm off to rubber band my joysticks together. Boy, that sounds wrong. Anyway, thanks for the comment. Yeah, I mean, hopefully, it's getting real close to the end of it.
Well, I don't know. We still got a bit. We still got till August.
I'm going to try to do it in the next 3 days.
See, unfortunately, I have to wait 3 weeks, which I'm just going to continue to be bitter about. But I actually have more weeks than I thought I did, which is good. So I'm hoping I can finish it before I leave to move across the country, because I don't have to carry my Xbox One with me. Because if I do, that's going to be kind of a pain.
Yeah, right.
But I'll do it. I'll do it for achievements if I have to.
Of course. I mean, you're not just going to give up on it.
No, of course not. I'm too far in.
Too far
We got
committed.
one achievement left in both versions. I mean,
Right. Another comment here, and this was a Skype message from Griffey95, Ben, who you might know from the Achievement Hounds Community Podcast, and he says, "Hey, Freem, great job holding your own against what seemed like the other three completely on the podcast. I'm really positive about the future, too. So take that. I've got somebody on my side who thinks you're all a bunch of downers.
you happy people.
We
there's
all
something wrong
love
with you
VR.
guys.
Yeah, you know what? You take your
You're on-
joy, just like
Exactly, you're on
us.
your joy or something.
All right? He's a downer. He's a
Yeah.
downer. Oh, man, that was great.
It's a world of downers. It's just
Yeah.
you weirdos on your joy.
What, are you going to hit me with a
And
pipe?
stuff's gonna be good. No.
I'm that and seeing that game totally. I mean, that's one of the impetus behind me doing the Plague's Edge challenge for BioShock is like just seeing that world reminds me so much of BioShock's,
Yeah, it really-
dystopia.
Really does.
And the thing is like I will absolutely not say like, well, I feel like they're copying it because it's A, it's not, and B, it's such a cool concept. Like that, the whole dystopian future is always so interesting, and
I love it.
all the little
Especially-
wrinkles are just
Especially when it's in such an immersive world like that. I really like the Wolfenstein: The New Order kind of dystopian world too. It's not quite a BioShock where you can go explore everything and
right.
get this backstory, but they did such a good job of building it and building up the backstory that it was really cool. And like you see all these things, and you're kind of hidden under in your hideout. And just I thought they did a really good job of a dystopian world with the new Wolfenstein. I quite enjoyed that game as well.
Yeah, agreed. I have to get on that one too. Hopefully, someone out there wants to start that thing from scratch.
It's pretty easy. I mean,
right
if you
here.
got I'll do the 360 version. I got that sitting on my shelf. If you want
Is it a
to.
multiplayer thing? Oh, you mean you and me head to head?
Yeah. No, there's no multiplayer. It's just
Yeah,
a
I was
single
gonna say
player
I
game.
thought it was.
But yeah, it's easy completion. Takes a
put
bit. I mean, just because it's a big game, but it's not hard.
Right? I put that on the list. Writing her down. All right, Crandy. You got called to task on this one.
I did.
B. Smiddle says, is Crandy's last name Snow? He absolutely knows nothing. And his comparison of the 32X to the Scorpio, maddening.
Yeah, I saw that. No, my last name is not Snow. It's 2727. And I stand by my 32X comparison. I think it's the closest thing that we've had to compare the Scorpio to. But I do acknowledge that there are some differences, and I was extra rain cloudy on my last show. So I do stand by it, but I do acknowledge that it's not exactly the same thing.
Well, we're making progress. This is like therapy. We're just talking through your issues here.
No.
I mean,
It's just
I-
not
I'm
E3
really-
week.
no, I'm really excited about because they need to. They're going to spend more time and explain what it is. Now, do we have to wait until next E3 for them to, expound
don't
more
worry,
upon
it'll
it?
leak. Air quotes, leak. So you could see me talking.
No, it's going to end up being it's either going to be E3 or it's going to be a Microsoft event, like a announcement event.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
probably what I think it's more.
I
like.
think it's more likely it would be an event as
Now,
well,
do
because
you-
it's a long time with no talk if it's till next E3.
Well, I guess I completely overlooked the Gamescom, PAX. I
I feel like PAX doesn't have a lot of really big announcements though.
I
Gamescom,
agree.
Maybe.
Yeah, because PAX leads right into the holiday season. They're really focused on the games coming out that fall.
Yeah, and
And
PAX is
winter.
kind of like more of a consumer expo than a real like industry expo.
Right.
Where Gamescom and E3, I believe, are totally closed to the public.
No, well, Gamescom's not. Gamescom does open
Oh
up,
yeah, they have one day or
Yep,
something, to go,
which is
right, yeah.
apparently just.
I mean,
a
I guess
Zoom.
that's kind of like GDC, where I went on a student badge.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You can go to GDC. Anyone can go. It's just really expensive. It's like $1,500 or something.
Good God, that's crazy.
No, mine was like, I think mine was like $80. But yeah,
Yeah,
if you
that's
want to go
right.
for the week, it's like $1,500 or something just crazy. Like, yeah.
It's just gross. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, part of me saying that they're going to have a a separate event, kind of like what they do when they talk about, and maybe they'll include it with their Microsoft, their Windows events, because they'll talk about the synergy between them. Maybe they'll just have a whole week of marketing that they just go nuts on the console details. But because you'd hate, obviously the developers are going to get their hands on more of what the specs are going to be earlier, or what they're intending, right? Because it's not going to be as simple
as
they
have to.
Oh, hey, just here. This is what you should spec for. It's not. We haven't really figured it out yet. Just kind of plan for 6 teraflops.
Yeah,
like that doesn't.
No,
help
I'm sure they have sent something out to devs. Probably not a working console yet, but at least some components to expect.
Yeah, so there's a lot of rumors out there that people are saying the Neo is going to come out before the Scorpio. They'll be a year earlier.
I doubt it's going to be. If they haven't even announced it,
agreed.
I don't think it's going to be. That's not something you announce and then say, "Oh, you can buy it today."
Right.
That's something that you're like, "This is coming out in like 6 to 12 months from now, and you need to like save your money up for it because it's a big deal."
Right.
Like, it's not like the Slim that's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, we have this thing coming out next month that's the same as your current thing, just a little bit better." It's like, no, this is a new console.
Yeah, this definitely does require more. And you're right, to not announce it and then to think it's going to come out this holiday, that's insanity.
I think that would be a very stupid move on Sony. It would be.
I don't even think it's possible. You talk about I know you honestly
talk about too. Like, look at manufacturing enough of them. All of that's going to be driven by pre-orders. Right.
And I think, they'll have a pretty good idea, and they'll try to make as many as possible. But I think, you're super cynic about the leaks and whatnot. I think they're actually legitimate leaks. But in either case, if you're manufacturing at that rate, internal leaks or just some dude on the line who wants to talk about it, there's no way we don't hear about manufacturing of a new console.
Yeah,
there's just way too many.
And this isn't like a new console launch, like where that, okay, this percent of people are your people that buy everything and they're definitely going to buy it, and there's going to be a few more that might buy it. This is something totally different that has never been done / hasn't been done for 20 years, if you want to compare it to the 32X, just to bring that up again, just to kind of rub it in a little. You're not going to have the same people buying it.
Right.
It's going to be a totally different number of people buying it. And especially with a totally unknown price point that could potentially be very high.
Yep.
Because we don't know. Like, if this is marketing as like the top of the line thing, they could sell it at $600 or $700.
I would love to have an inside scoop on what projections are. Just for every console launch, right? Like, what did Microsoft think the Xbox One was going to do, and how did it perform?
I bet they got way too many.
What did Oculus think they were going to sell, and what did they actually run through?
I'd love
to see those analytics.
Is they probably just didn't have the money to manufacture in the scale that they wanted. Because it's like they probably just made as many as they possibly could. Because, that was like Guitar Hero 3. I don't know if you remember the buzz around Guitar Hero 3 when it was like holiday season of Guitar Hero 3 and they were selling for like $1,000+ on eBay. It's like
I think you mentioned it.
They just couldn't keep up with it. It was something they totally underestimated the demand, or they only had a certain budget, because this was when the music, because Guitar Hero 3 is what made that genre, basically. It was the one that went from, this is moderately popular and some people play it pretty seriously, but it's not, it's not in every household, to this is in every person's living room that has an Xbox and plays games.
Right.
And that was Guitar Hero 3, and they're like, okay, well, we're on the budget of, this is probably going to sell a little bit more than Guitar Hero 2 did.
But it went gangbusters.
And then it was just crazy. Like, everywhere was sold out for months.
Yeah.
The only way you could get one, because a bunch of the guitars were, because I bought at the time EB Games did a warranty. You could get $10. It would cover the disc and the accessories for a year. And a whole bunch of the original Run Guitar Hero 3 guitars were really poorly made, and they would stop working after about a month because the connection between the neck and the body wouldn't stick together properly.
Yeah, interesting.
So when every store was sold out, I went through 3 guitars in like 2 months, and they would always get one for me because as soon as one came in, it was mine because I had priority over the people buying it because I had the warranty. So I always thought that was kind of funny that like this warranty ended up saving me like $400 on a $10
Yeah, no kidding.
guitar warranty. So I never regretted buying that. But yeah, it's just kind of that same thing where it's like I think Oculus is that kind of thing where we know we're going to sell a whole bunch of them, but we just don't have the money to front this huge manufacturing run to have enough to actually have extra. We only have enough to just fill the orders, but not even just fill the orders.
Right. No, I just think those numbers would be fascinating.
Sure, oh, totally. I would love to see that too.
Information. I mean, it would be so cool.
I think customers of the gaming industry would be so interesting for so many kind of like business studies.
Oh, absolutely.
Just because there's no other customer base that you can treat terribly.
Right?
Like just absolutely terribly, and they'll still buy it every time. Yeah. Every time. And it's not like something that's like insurance, like medical insurance. Like you hate them, you hate those companies, you hate everything about them, but you don't have a choice.
Yeah, you're bound by law.
It's like you don't have a choice. You have to buy insurance because you need coverage. At least I do.
Right.
I have a medical condition that I require coverage.
Well, I mean, with Obamacare, you have to have insurance.
There's a new thing, but even if you're using it, like it's just using insurance. Like you hate them. Right. The alternatives are all just as bad. So you don't have a choice. But it's like with gaming, it's like no, that's a hobby. That's an option.
Right.
You could buy like not new stuff. You could only buy like there's so many other options, but people still will pay tons and tons of money to get and then complain, but since they never follow up their complaints. So that's the thing I'd always love to see is like, okay, how many people say they're not going to buy this or sign the petition or whatever, and then just buy it on day one anyway, like the Steam group, the Modern Warfare 2 Steam group, that was where
the best screenshot ever.
So funny.
But like, to your point, it's not only can you mistreat them, but like they are so passionate that they will just destroy you in public, like flame you on the internet, downvote everything you've got. I mean, like utterly mob your marketing campaign.
And then still buy it. Yeah. And then still buy it. And then wonder why nothing changes. Like that's the thing that I don't get is like, okay, it's one thing to do that and understand that when you're buying it, you're still part of the problem. But I don't know, people don't get that. When you complain and complain and complain, and then you go out and buy it anyway, you're part of the problem. You gave them your money, and they got your money, so they don't care.
Right.
Because let's face it, those companies are in it to make money. They're not in it to make good games. If good games come out as a side effect of making money, well,
I think they try to make good games because good games will get them more money, but they
only
also
to an extent.
But that's the thing,
they'll
right?
make good games to an extent.
They'll also,
price gouge you.
That's if a developer presents them
you.
right with a good game concept. Yeah. If a developer presents them with an adequate sales, pitch, like, there's a movie coming out and we can sell this piece of garbage for $60 and at least get right.
I'm looking forward to the new Ghostbusters game because Ghostbusters games have a history of being absolutely terrible.
Just hideous.
Yeah. Well, the Ghostbusters video game that was the standalone video game that was not based on a movie was actually fantastic. Wonderful game. Other than the glitchy achievements, super good game. But all the other ones that are based on movies are just terrible.
Total garbage.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll pick it up when it's like $5 or whatever. I'm not paying full price. I'm not going to pull a Duck Dynasty. I paid full price for Duck Dynasty.
Right.
Didn't regret it, though. That one was great. Ghostbusters I'm not so sure about. But.
All right. So final piece of listener feedback. I got a private message from Keith, 271179. He says, "Hey, Brad, I'm still getting through the marathon E3 show. Nice job, by the way. Totally appreciate the dedication. I was wondering what TV shows you guys are into, and do you think any of them would make good games? Personally, I'd like to see a good Lost game, as Lost Via Domus was just terrible. Another thought, any games that would make good TV shows? Thanks in advance, Keith. So what do you like to watch, Crandy? What do you do? You have some Netflix shows you like to binge, or do you actually watch network TV?
Yeah, well, we don't have cable at all. We have Netflix and Hulu. Me personally, like when I pick something to watch, I've been watching Seinfeld lately. Quite like Seinfeld. Great 90s aesthetic. Other
you see
stuff,
the Doom 2 Seinfeld map?
I did. That's amazing.
Unbelievable, right?
So cool. I didn't see everything, but I saw that it was a thing, and it had Jerry and George and everyone standing in the doorway and
right.
Like,
so for those of you who don't know, someone modded Jerry's apartment into Doom, and it's interactive. I mean, you can like walk around his apartment, and they have cutouts of all of the characters from Seinfeld in there. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's pretty great. But like when my wife watches TV mostly, then I kind of watch while I'm playing games or whatever. So we just finished up Mad Men, of course, all like the Netflix shows like House of Cards and Orange is the New Black and other stuff. I can't even think. We watch way more than that too. I can't even think of the other stuff that we've been watching lately, but I watch lots of stuff, or kind of watch lots of stuff, like not totally. And Game of Thrones, I'm way behind, but I do enjoy that as well.
I am too, and I was just at the charity event this weekend and had some people talking about, hey, are you up to speed on Game of Thrones? Of course, we're recording this piece on the season finale. And,
is it? Okay, now I'm like 2 seasons behind then.
Bingo, right? I just started season 5, and I think I'm like a couple episodes in, and people are like, there's just two things. And there will be no spoilers here, so if you're not into the show, don't worry about it. But they would say, like, and this is, you can consider this a spoiler, but I don't, because this happens in every single television series ever. But newsflash, there's a cliffhanger at the end of season 5. I have no idea what it is, but there is some type of cliffhanger. Guess what? It's been in every show that's ever been made. But this one, it's like, people are like, oh man, the cliffhanger at the end of season 5 is really good, and you get to just move right into season 6. Whereas me, I had to sit and stew on it for 8 months or however long it was. So it'll be nice to just transition right into it, but it makes life on the internet really difficult.
On that topic, Breaking Bad is another show I really like. Just thinking again. But I hated how they did the last season in like 2 seasons. Like they called it one season, but it was actually 2 seasons. It's like I just got so mad at them doing that I didn't watch the second part for years. Like I didn't go back until like 4 years later or something.
Boycotted it.
Yeah, because I was like, this is stupid. Like call it 2 seasons or just release it all at once. And then I had to rewatch the whole series, of course, which is fine because it was a great series. So I didn't mind rewatching it all. But yeah, that's so stupid doing something like that. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of a cliffhanger, kind of not. But
yeah, I mean, for me,
that annoyed me.
I really don't watch TV anymore. My wife and I, like, we watch a ton of TV together. A lot of sitcoms, Law & Order SVU. Like, there's just things that we watch together. Things that I watch by myself, because she won't. Game of Thrones is on that list, and it's like, I'm torn because she doesn't like rats. She doesn't like mice, right? And I'm thinking of one scene in particular where like mice are used as a torture device, and I'm like, okay, that's just right out. Like she would leave my house, like she's just so petrified of them. But like the other thing, she doesn't like gore either, or like torture or gratuitous violence, and it's like, yeah, but it's
such a good show.
It's so good. Like
it really, because it was one of those things where everyone was saying like, oh man, you got to watch Game, because I didn't watch it until it had been out for like 2 or 3 seasons.
Same.
Or something.
I didn't start until
because it was like everyone's like, man, Game of Thrones is so good, you got to watch it.
Yep.
And
I binge watched the first 3 seasons leading right up to 4th.
And the thing is, but like whenever I hear that, like when that many people tell me something is good, I'm like, it's probably not that good.
Yeah, it's just your expectations low.
It's one of those things. It's just like, how does everyone think this is good? That's like Pirates of the Caribbean. I know tons of people like Pirates of the Caribbean. I couldn't even make it through the first one.
Oh, really?
Like I was like fall asleep or just like never. I could not ever get in that series. I mean, I don't know if it's a bad series. I couldn't get through the first one. I'm not necessarily saying it is, but even like other stuff too is like people say, "Oh yeah, I gotta watch it." And like then I watch it, like, no, it's stupid, it's lame. But then I watch Game of Thrones, like, yeah, this is good.
It's so good.
It's good. It's so good.
And I feel bad that like my wife won't get to enjoy just the writing, the complexity of the characters, the interactive story. I mean, or the interwoven story. Like it's just remarkably well put together.
Like I don't like fantasy stuff most of the time, just because I played so much RuneScape for so long that like anything fantasy is like immediately just like down a notch.
Reminds you of work.
Yeah, it's just like I've experienced so much of it that it's boring now. But Game of Thrones isn't. And that's the kind of another thing that impressed me is like it got past that. I've experienced so much fantasy that it's not exciting anymore.
Yeah.
But Game of Thrones is still amazing. So another plus on that, because like Lord of the Rings, like I just can't get into Lord of the Rings at all. Like
I liked the movies, but I never watched the Hobbit series. Like I've read the book, but I never watched it. And it's like
I haven't read the books. I think I watched the first 3 movies, and I saw the first Hobbit movie, and it's just like,
yeah, I'm so far behind in my movies. My mother-in-law's husband, like he's a big movie guy and like superheroes, and so he works for Charter Cable, right? So he gets everything for free. So you can just pull movies all he wants. Yeah.
The on-demand movies for free.
Everything for free. And so he's like, hey, have you seen, the Civil War yet? I'm like, no, actually, I haven't even seen Age of Ultron. I haven't seen Ant-Man. I haven't seen... Like, I just go through the list of Marvel movies I haven't seen, and he's like, are you kidding me? You need to get out of my house. and it's like, I have 2 young kids. Like, when the hell am I going to see all these movies? And I've got a podcast. I've got all these video games I need to get done.
Play games.
Right.
Like, games are better than movies.
I totally agree. And so, like, if I have an opportunity, like, I'm not going to sit and watch an hour TV show when I can have an hour of video game time. And if I only get 2 hours of free time a night, like, that's why it's so easy to push off those shows. And I'll go into something another show that I enjoy, The Walking Dead. So I'm behind on The Walking Dead. I'm in season 5, and let's see. So season 6 is done. I'm in season 5, and I was like, you know what? Okay, I know season 6 is coming up. I should just finish through. I record everything on DVR. So for some reason, though, the last 3 episodes of season 5 did not record. And then when season 6 started, they took all of the on-demand part of season 5 off. So the only way I can finish season 5 is if I rent the individual episodes or, wait till they come on DVD and Netflix binge them or whatever. Anyway, like it's remarkably difficult for me to finish those last 3 episodes of season 5. And so now it's like I'm just sitting here waiting.
Did they take it off of HBO Go?
Walking Dead's not on HBO.
Oh, I thought Walking Dead was HBO.
AMC. And so I'm stuck. And I started season 6 and I'm like, this looks weird. I don't remember some of this lead in, and I'm like, oh darn it, because I'm missing 3 episodes, so I don't know what the cliffhanger is, and so like that's a show I really enjoy, but now I'm stuck because I don't want to spend extra money to go watch it. I have to wait until there's reruns and I can record them, but so though in those I waited too long and I got burned. Whereas, like, with HBO Go, it's like, well, I pay for HBO, and so it'll always be available for me.
Yeah.
So I just got to sit down and finish Game of Thrones. I really do. Other than that, I mean, those are really the only 2 series. I mean, Fear the Walking Dead.
The other one we've been watching, we're just catching up on RuPaul's Drag Race. Finished that off.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I think we got through all the ones that are on Hulu.
Right. My wife and I, when we start, like, there'll be a new set of shows coming up here in the fall, and so we usually pick, 4 or 5 shows to give a shot. We'll set them on the DVR, and with like clockwork, at least 3 of those that we pick will be canceled in a year or 2. Like, every show that we like, it just gets demolished in the ratings, and we never see it again.
Yeah.
It's obnoxious. All right, let's move on. That was fun. We got some news to talk about. So Terrigan had mentioned that the Maw is Games with Gold in Japan, but it doesn't work for backwards compatibility for some reason.
It's because no one in Japan owns an Xbox One, so it doesn't
Maybe
matter.
that's why they didn't end up doing it. Because he had me try some things, but it wasn't working. So, you can go grab it in Japan, but you do have to have a Japanese 360 to play it.
Do? You shouldn't. That shouldn't be the case.
For the Japanese version. Is it a stack? It's got to be a stack.
No, it's not a stack.
Oh, well then... Oh, so then the Japanese version of the Maw for their Games with Gold isn't the same as the US version?
No, it's the same.
Well, that's weird.
You have to have a Japanese account to download it. Not to download it, but to purchase it. But that's it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So they just haven't
So
added that
once
to the
once
list.
it's in your history, it's good. It'll work
Gotcha.
on anything. Yeah, because even like Asian region exclusive arcade games are not console locked. They're just, some of them are IP locked, like the Japanese Dead Risings. You have to download them from a Japanese IP, but once they're downloaded, they'll work on any console.
Sure.
So, I mean, it could be IP locked, but given that it was released in all regions and it's rated E, it's
Right.
very, very unlikely that it'll be IP locked.
Right. That's weird. Then I don't know why. I don't like to necessarily do time-dependent news, but this is pretty interesting for those who care. Halo 5, they're coming out with their new content release, Warzone Firefight, and it's a massive update that's coming out Wednesday, June 29th, which is release day for this episode. But if you're listening to it in the future, this is when this episode comes out. So to celebrate, 343 and Microsoft is letting everyone who has Xbox Live Gold play Halo 5 for free. And you can get it for free from June 29th to July 5th. They're calling it the Xbox Live's Free Play Days program. And
so you don't get to keep it, you just get to play it?
You get to play it. It will be on sale for 50% off during that time frame. So my guess is that makes it $30 to buy the digital copy of the game. But you get to play it for those days for free. And so if you think you can complete all of the achievements in that period of time, there you go. I mean, it
says 30 or 40 to 50 hours. So, I mean, that's doable. Wow. Game size 70.5 gigabytes. That is ridiculous. I did not realize it was that big.
So get your downloads going. Hopefully you listen to this show right away and you can do that. But if not, I mean, I'm going to try to take advantage of this. I'm not sure if I will though, because I haven't finished 4.
Yeah, I need to. Well, I finished the campaign on 4.
What I might do is actually just end up buying it for $30.
Yeah,
at some point, I'm going to own it. Do it. You might going to get to it before it drops to 20.
I think it'll get lower than that. Like, especially if you get it at like Best Buy or something. Actually, I saw like this seems to be a trend now. Like, I'm seeing a lot of new releases lately drop go $20 off, like a third of the price, within 3 weeks of them being released. I saw it with Battleborn. I saw it with Mirror's Edge. There was another recent. Doom wasn't one, but another recent release. So it's like it's getting to the point where they know that all the people that are going to buy it day one are going to buy it on day one, and then nobody else is going to buy it until the price drops. So they're just dropping the price 3 weeks.
Right.
And then you get more people. It's like, that's a real slap in the face to your early adopters, I think. But I don't know. I mean, keep an eye. I would say the physical version's probably going to get cheaper
I think
first,
it depends on the title, because...
That's true. Halo's...
yeah, because
sometimes.
there's a lot of titles that don't... Like, GTA 5 has dropped...
Yeah, but
has only dropped below $40 a couple of times, and
GTA
the lowest I've ever
5
seen is $35.
I think I got
New
mine
copy.
for the 360 or the one.
The one.
The one, I think I got
Who
mine
plays that
for.
on the 360? Get out.
Well,
of here.
I bought it on the 360. I'm going to beat it
Forever
on there
ago.
first.
Yeah.
No, I actually the same time as the one version. Beat it on there first, then double up on my achievements on the 2.1 versions, because you can import your online progress and all the achievements pop when you load up the the one versions.
Well, that's not too bad then.
So I'm double dipping. Yeah. I think I got the 360 version for 15 and the one version for 25 on Black Friday. That's before Gamers Club.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
but that's the lowest they've ever been. Those two prices were the lowest they've ever been. That one's kind of a unique exception though, because they actually kept printing it and continued to support and sell it. So most of the games, it's just like they do the run and then it's done.
Yeah,
like,
they give it
that's it.
8 months of support and then they just keep it. Yeah,
or they'll print it for 6 months. After 6 months, it's $10, and then when they're gone, kind of thing. Like, and they still continue to sell it. So, or like support it. And I don't know about the 360. No, the 360 version probably is too. But I think I like that model a whole lot more, that you can actually go out and still find this game. It still costs more, but it's still getting updates and stuff, which is nice.
Right.
Because, I like that.
I
think they did it right, and I don't mind paying more for it.
Sure.
Still haven't played it.
No, I get you.
That was almost a year ago now, I guess.
We had a fun little conversation between Phil Spencer. So somebody had reached out to Ed Boon, and if you don't know who Ed Boon is, he is the creator of the Mortal Kombat series. Has been on that series forever. He actually, so the character Noob is actually named after Ed Boon, his name backwards. Anyway, so somebody tweeted him and said, "Hey, I'm still waiting for a good crossover Mortal Kombat. Maybe Killer Instinct versus Mortal Kombat? I don't know, maybe." And so he tied Ed Boon in there. So Ed Boon replies, "Love me some Killer Instinct, but a crossover would have to be Xbox exclusive." To which Phil Spencer saw that and retweeted or replied and said, "Love this idea." So Phil Spencer's Twitter account himself said, "Boy, a Mortal Kombat Killer Instinct crossover game would be really cool."
I agree.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah. Although, would they do? Because Killer Instinct doesn't do fatalities, does it?
They have ultras.
Are the ultras like super gory and ridiculous?
They're not gory, but they're like kind of as brutal as Killer Instinct gets. You're not like ripping off limbs and stuff, but I mean, you just beat them for 30 seconds or 45 seconds, however long the animation is.
So it's just
a really long combo.
Gratuitous beatdown.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the characters of Mortal Kombat and Killer Instinct would go together nicely.
Agreed. They are very similar art style.
Same kind of look. Yeah.
Similar
same kind
physics.
Feel. Yeah. The only thing is the mechanics of the two games are pretty different, I think. But
yeah, there's a lot of
Killer Instinct is really fast. Like really fast. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and
it'd be interesting.
Killer Instinct as a platform for the Microsoft has just been really, I don't know if lucrative is the right word, but it's certainly been popular.
It's freemium done right,
right,
for sure.
Right. I'm curious. I'd be curious how that ends up, performing for them. But they're still adding characters, and they've expanded the roster with all these crossover characters already. Of course, the new one coming out, General Rom from Gears of War, Arbiter has in there, but Rash from Battletoads. Like they're pulling in different Microsoft IPs, and so to have Mortal Kombat's already done crossovers with DC. So what's to stop them? Now that's easier for them because of course NetherRealm is already doing the DC characters via Injustice and Injustice 2 that's coming out this next year. But who knows? I mean, there's been nothing mentioned on what Mortal Kombat 11 or X2. I don't know what naming convention they're gonna go with. It's got to be 11, right? What the next Mortal Kombat game is gonna be? Because they're just focused on Injustice 2 right now. So maybe this is something down the road. Once Killer Instinct kind of outlives its, how many seasons can Killer Instinct really go?
That's the thing I'm starting to think is they're going to have to, there's either going to be so many crossovers that starts putting people off, or they're going to have to start making some new Killer Instinct Well, I guess they already have. They did make a new character this season. But it's like, okay, maybe go every 2 years. Well, I guess it's every 18 months. It has been for Killer Instinct, I think.
But how many characters are there now?
Season 1 had 9. Season 2 had 9. Season 3 has 8. So
25?
26 characters.
And that's going to be total.
That's total, yeah.
Okay. Because even like the ones that aren't technically released yet, they're included in that?
Yeah, I counted. There's one unreleased character for season 3 that hasn't been announced yet.
So, I mean, that's not that... I mean, it's a lot.
I mean, it's a lot when you have
ridiculous.
it all in one game. It's they could definitely...
Because what, Smash Brothers for the Wii U is like 49 or something obscene?
So many, yeah.
It's just pure insanity.
And the thing that I really like about Killer Instinct is they don't just reskin a moveset. Is all the characters actually have different, like proper different movesets.
Sure.
Which is impressive, I think, to have that much variety when it's still variety and they're all still viable. So it's not like there's like 3 characters that are super overpowered. If you're good with your character, like you could go tournament level kind of thing. So it's nice to see that. Where I think I think Street Fighter does a lot of reskins. Street Fighter has a lot of characters too, but I think a lot of them are basically just reskins. But don't quote me on that because I haven't really gone too deep into Street Fighter.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of Street Fighter myself. I think
it's too much commitment to get into it.
I can see it. Hey, let's stick with Twitter here. We had somebody had a conversation with Xbox Quick, Mike Ybarra. Drop Dead Ken wrote to him and said, "Hey, Xbox Quick, I'd like to see something implemented for 100% games. Maybe a badge or something on your profile. Could be cool." Xbox Quick replies, "Me too." He's the guy who could get it done, right?
Me too.
Like, this is the one thing I think is such a glaring weakness with the achievement system for Xbox users is the Platinum Trophy that PlayStation has. I want a Platinum Trophy so bad.
I don't necessarily want like a Platinum Trophy achievement. Just it would be nice to have something that's like a star that says like 150 or like something that's like, okay, it's it's like iron for 10 or less. There's 50 or less is bronze. It's 100 to 300 is silver, 300 to 500 is gold, and 500 plus is platinum or something. Like,
what you could do is you have the Xbox ring, and then each percentage lights up one of the quadrants, and then if you have all 100, it lights up the center dot, and so that's your for each
completion percentage.
Your completion percentage in a game that you could like have on your Xbox profile.
Okay, I see. Yeah, no, that would make sense. Or I'm thinking just like on your gamer card, like with your gamer score, like you have a completion number.
Oh, sure, like number of completions.
Score and you have a gamer score. So it's like I would have 185,000 gamer score and a 156 completion score or whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. That would be nice.
I don't know where I got 156. I hit 200 completed games like 3 months ago.
You better go play the lotto or something. There's numbers just jumping out at you.
I guess so.
Speaking of numbers, Mighty Number 9 is out, and people have already beaten it. Reviews are not great. I have yet to play it, so I don't give my own reviews, but I'm being told that the credits are 4 hours long. The reason they're 4 hours long is that everybody who backed Mighty Number 9 and provided money via the Kickstarter or PayPal gets their name in the credits. So with every single person that's on that list, you can scroll through and see every single name on there. Well, my name's on there. So if you want to find Freem, he is definitely on there. I should have planned ahead and looked up my Mighty Number 9 number, because everyone has their own number, right? And they're chronologically written. And then the one thing I did end up seeing was most people, though, you have to like do their little Survey Monkey thing. And so if you didn't respond to it, it's like just like anonymous user or something dumb like that. Like, there's no there's no name. It's just, hey, anonymous backer. That's what it was. And so that's kind of dumb. But anyway, so I'm on there. So you can find, I think I wrote Freemhole. I don't think I put my real name on there. I think I put Freemhole. So I'm in the credits. I contributed to a game. I just don't know if I have 4 hours to sit and watch.
Yeah.
When I beat it, I'll take a screenshot.
I don't think I would, even if I was in those credits, like I don't think I would want to sit around and actually find myself. Like I could say I was in them, but I don't think I would actually sit around to confirm.
But you're in there. Like, why would you not?
So I don't regret canceling my pre-order on that game. This is unrelated. It's just kind of in response to it didn't get great reviews, which is not shocking.
Right.
Because it got that Duke Nukem Forever-itis.
The just please try
delayed,
and get it done.
delayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when it gets delayed that many times, it's not a good sign. When it gets delayed a couple of times, fine. When it gets delayed like 2 years, something's wrong with it.
I feel like they shifted to go work on something else, and they're like, "Oh crap, we got to go finish that project."
They pulled a Gearbox with what's it, Alien money,
right? Something like that.
Where they borrowed the money to go work on Borderlands 2 or whatever.
Yeah, there you go.
They borrowed the money to go work on Mighty Number 10.
So let's see. There were 67,226 backers on Kickstarter. So that's a ton.
That's a lot. And I assume that's like that many people at least gave enough money to buy a copy of the game, right?
You'd have to think so. I'm not sure how many like people actually do like the $1.
Yeah.
I don't know. That always seems weird to me when like I feel like you want to go to the minimum to at least get
something,
right? Get the product.
Because then it's just like you're just buying it.
Yeah.
You're just buying the game.
Right. So, I mean, like every Kickstarter I've backed so far has always been like, what's the minimum point of entry? And that's why I didn't end up backing Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, because I think the minimum to get that game was like $30. And
yeah,
it's like,
which is pretty steep to back something that may never actually happen.
Well, and to me, I think like the game to me looked like an XBLA game, and that level of game to me caps out at $20. Now, granted, it could be a huge game.
$20 is pushing it, even.
Yeah, exactly. Like it could be even more, but like more of a game. I mean,
yeah.
But I just don't feel comfortable like without knowing the scope of the game or how it's going to be. Like I can't possibly spend $30 on it on a roll of the dice. $20, like I mean, you're right. That is a lot, but I feel like that's at least reasonable
for what Mighty Number 9 appeared to be. I would say $20 seems pretty fair, but at the same time, if it tries to do way more than it should be trying to do and does it poorly, then it's not. But
right,
I haven't played it, so I don't know.
All right, final piece of news that we want to touch on. Oh man, and this just steams my gourd. We've talked about it multiple times. Vivendi has now climbed to 20% ownership of Ubisoft. Over 20%. They continue to creep into Ubisoft. We've mentioned it multiple times on the show. They're still standing by the we have no interest in taking over, which is like the biggest crock of crap I've ever heard.
I don't know. Like everyone knows, guys. Come on, like. I'm not opposed to you trying to take over the company, but I mean, at least don't go out. Like, even if you say no comment is better than we have no intention, because when you buy up 20% of a company, you've got some intentions of something.
Yep. So they have had, according to the French securities regulator, they posted a what is it? Kind of like a public response as to what they're doing. And so these are the objectives over the next 6 months. Vivendi has acquired this using disposable cash. Vivendi is not acting together with any third party in connection with its investment of Ubisoft, and has not entered into a temporary sale agreement concerning Ubisoft shares or voting rights. So there's nothing between Ubisoft and Vivendi in this. It's just we're buying up shares for funsies. Vivendi does not hold instruments and is not party to agreements referred to in whatever, kind of same thing. Vivendi is considering continuing to acquire shares depending on market conditions, right? Like, we're not going to stop if it's cheap enough. They are not considering a launch of public tender on Ubisoft, nor acquiring the control of the company. That one's the weird one, because it's like, so the public tender part of it, does that mean they're not going to ask, like, try and sell shares of Vivendi to raise money to buy shares of Ubisoft?
Yes. Okay. So the tender offer is Vivendi says, we will buy all Ubisoft shareholders. We will buy your stock at price X for this window of time. If you want to sell it to us, we'll buy it.
Yeah. So they're saying they're not going to do that. Okay.
Okay. I'd say that's pretty bold, putting it in a
regulatory document,
like regulatory statement, because
they're just slow playing it.
Know what's going to happen next?
Yeah, I mean, they're just slow playing it, is what they're doing.
I mean, I guess they could say they're not. I don't know. That's impressive. They were able to buy that much with extra cash, though. I mean, they must have some mad cash sitting around. Like
the
Apple.
Last two, I think, that are important. Vivendi is hoping to build a fruitful cooperation with Ubisoft. Vivendi's investment in Ubisoft's business sector is part of a strategic vision of operational convergence between Vivendi's content and platform and Ubisoft's productions in the field of video games. Like, what is Vivendi's platform? I mean, they're a giant TV.
Well, they're a conglomerate, aren't they?
Yeah, well, I mean, so they have a bunch of different things. So, I'm
just looking.
The strategic vision to me is like, they make a lot of money in video games, and we want their money.
Well, yeah, they're a media company, so they're not a conglomerate, but
they're a big media outlet, a media company out of France, and so their content revolves around TV, radio, other various forms of media.
Their piece of video games, I guess,
but like,
I wouldn't call it a platform though. They just own them.
What's the strategy, right? Where it's like, oh boy, their video games would work really well on our TV shows. Like, no, you just want their money.
Maybe they're interested because Ubisoft's getting into movies. Maybe,
yeah. I mean, they want a piece of the Assassin's Creed movie pie, or what else? The Watch Dogs movie that I just made up.
The Lie Engine just made up,
right. What other movies
Engine to sell all their other like commercials and stuff for their misleading media services?
The Rayman animated series, Saturday morning cartoons.
That's happening, or is that a thing?
I'm just making that up too.
Oh.
I'm trying to make up things that Ubisoft's IPs could turn into some sort of media thing.
Did you say you just made up the Watch Dogs movie?
I did. Is there one coming out that I don't know about?
You know that was announced at E3, right? I'm not even kidding.
No.
Yeah, they announced a Watch Dogs movie at E3.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Great. In response, Ubisoft is offering discounted shares of their stock to staff. So if you're an employee of Ubisoft, you have an opportunity to buy more shares of the company less expensively than they are on the market.
That's a pretty smart move.
Agreed, right? Hey, we don't know what's going to happen if Vivendi takes over. You might all lose your jobs. So if you love this company and you want to help it grow, then be successful with us. Here's an opportunity to buy stock in our company, which is doing quite well from a product standpoint.
It's also smart too, because they can give their employees a perk and then take that money they get from that and then buy more of their own stocks back from other people. So as long as Vivendi doesn't do a tender offer, which then all employees are like, hey, these guys are paying big bucks for what I just bought yesterday for cheap. Sure. But as long as that doesn't happen, then that's pretty good, both for Ubisoft and its employees.
Right. We'll see. This story just keeps building and building, and I don't know when Vivendi's going to make their final move and try to get to 50% so they can get on the board. I think their board meeting is in September, so I'm not sure they can do it by September to get voting control, but maybe September next year. I mean, we're talking about
they could definitely have some serious influence on electing
the
new
existing
board
members.
Though.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, even just electing new ones. I mean, I don't think they could get the whole board changed, but I mean, I'm sure they can get at least
just crazy
a stake. Yeah.
Oh well,
20% is a lot.
It's quite a bit.
Yeah,
quite a bit. So anyway, let's move into kind of our feature content for the week. All right, and joining Terrigan and Crandy and I, we've got a very special guest with us today, the one and only Spark Thomas Gratz. You know him from Project Spark fame. He is gracefully joining us this evening. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I am good. That was quite the introduction, making me feel like a celebrity or something.
Well, you have helped out
kind of right now,
right?
TA,
Helped out the achievement community so much that it's an honor to figure out how this thing works, and certainly all the people in the Great True Achievement Score Challenge and those achievement hunters out there who have an easy path to finishing Project Spark through some of your help. It's been fantastic. But before we get into all of that fun stuff, let's kind of dive back and just let's learn your origin story. Maybe you don't consider yourself a superhero, but I assume at some point you went to school and likely worked at other places other than Microsoft. You care to fill in that backstory for us?
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, so I was coming out of a theater, and then my parents were murdered, and then I decided to dress up as a bat.
Was there a pearl necklace? I think I've heard the story before.
There was. No, it's not quite that dramatic. So the quick backstory is I grew up in Las Vegas. That's where I'm from. Came up to Washington State for school at the University of Washington. There, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was a very confused college student. I've also played games my whole life, so that's this whole background or whatever. I'm just a big fan of games. Grew up with games. But as I was in college, I kind of fell in love with actually political science and economics. So I actually majored there. That's what I left school for. Had an awesome internship for a senator in Washington State. Ended up going to work for them. And then during all that time, as I was working for the senator, I actually had the opportunity to volunteer at PAX Prime for a game called Project Spark that I was heavily involved in. So before I was ever a community manager, I was actually a community member, which I think is a pretty unique story that not a lot of people get to tell. So I, as a user, I was really active in the beta when it came out in, that was March 2014 is when it started on Xbox One. I'm primarily a console player. And then from there, I had a good rapport with the team. I went and volunteered at PAX Prime, and then when a slot opened up for a community manager, I joined up on the team, and that's how I got here now. So this is really my first foray into the video game industry.
Wow.
And hopefully, not my last.
No kidding. That's awesome. I didn't realize you kind of snuck your way in through the back door to get into the team.
I did. It's not. I don't. I give a lot of credit to Team Dakota and to Microsoft for deciding to hire from their community. I think that's a kind of a risky move actually. A lot of times, right? It's you have to have kind of a lot of trust and realize that these people who've put hours and hours into your game might have a lot to offer there, and it was really cool to have them reach out and and set that up and eventually join the team. I feel super it was a huge opportunity.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like you said, I mean, it's not a very traditional path, so it's either side. There is risk knowing like, well, this person might not know anything about anything, but on the flip side, you've already exhibited a level of passion that most people don't have, and so even if you just transition some of that to your work, you have to assume good things would happen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, they saw, so, working for, in a legislative environment for a senator is not particularly easy. And I would, I think as much as passion there is, right, in gaming, I think, gaming is one of the most passionate communities that there are, right? And very vocal and, I think decisive, right? Like, I mean, we see all the time where, gamer feedback is kind of worded and probably not necessarily the best way, and you kind of have to have a thick skin to handle it.
Right.
And I think the only place that probably tops that to even, to the 11th degree or higher magnitude is politics.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the kind of conversations I would have, with, basically, working for the senator, I would, work with her community, right, her constituency. And, I actually think, that actually prepped me really well for, taking on this job. Very, very different path, right? But very unique, and I think it actually prepared me pretty well.
Well, that's awesome. So in that preparation, I mean, what did it prepare you for? What kind of roles did you have on the on Team Dakota there?
Oh yeah, so Team Dakota was not a huge team. I think when people think of Microsoft, they think of 343 and the Coalition and Rare and these studios of like hundreds of people, right? And Team Dakota was this, very different side, different thing happening at Microsoft. When I joined the team, it was about 35 or 40 people. I put the team size around there. And, so our community team was, 3 or 4 individuals, right? I had a co-community manager, Brian Perry. He was awesome. And he worked with me up till late last year. And, with this small team, we had to do a lot of things. Our responsibility really was pretty inclusive as far as pretty much anything dealing with the community came through us. And a lot of times, typically, right, you'd have like a marketing person or a PR person that were all separate, media relations, things like that. And we pretty much did all of those things too. But so day in and day out, a lot of social media. Right. Obviously, we also did all our broadcasts on Twitch TV. So 3 times a week we were doing, we do an education stream, a content stream, and a Let's Play stream. And plan all those, and get people to, devs from our team to show up on the show and make them, as fun and interactive as we can. Actually, a decent amount of, forum management, interacting with our fans there. We have a forum at projectspark.com.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I've seen you a lot over at Reddit.
Yeah, I have been on Reddit too, for sure. Not so much recently, but that was actually a big push. That was a social channel that they weren't utilizing very well. I would put it until I got there, and I'm a big Reddit user, so that was one of my kind of passions to get on there and talk about Spark. That we never were able to get the Reddit for Project Spark, like the specific one, that active. Yeah. But I would post, I think, decent amount in Xbox One and do giveaways, things like that, and kind of, just spread awareness. And I mean, Project Spark is this, is very much in the games as a service mentality. We always thought of it that way,
right.
Where this game grew and, totally relied completely on the community. So it was never a, one and done, like, launch, right? Where, here it is, here's our $60 game, buy it, have a great experience with it, and then you're not playing it in 2 weeks. We fully expected to have, people playing it day in and day out and keep improving it with us and having this story together. And that's what we had. It was awesome.
Yeah. Now, in that regard, so you joined the team then in the transition from beta into full launch, or were you part of you said you were in the beta, but... I
actually joined after launch. Okay. So the game launched in October 7th, 2014. So that's when Project Spark launched. And then I joined the team in March 2015. So just a few months after, 4 or 5 months after launch is when I joined the team.
Nice.
And that's actually, it's very different because I think, usually when, people are thinking, that's when you're not hiring anybody or people are, leaving. But they, I think it's a testament to, that community really led the way for Spark. as far, I think a lot of titles do a great job at Microsoft. Especially I think more recently it's been really active community wise, but I think Project Spark was one of the first to make that a core tenet. That was put by far the furthest in priority.
Yeah, right. And so in that kind of that time frame then, so you started in March and the game went essentially free to play then. That was in December, right? Or was it before that?
So the game was always a free to play title.
Sure, but
and we would do we had this microtransactions, right, if you will. These DLC packs that came and the kind of way that we thought about it, right, is it's this creation sandbox, and it's kind of like buying if you want to have Legos, right, and you want to pick up a pirate pack and you get your pirate ship and you can mix it with whatever pack, other Legos that you've had before.
Right.
So it was that's how we saw it. You'd augment your creative experience with this, but we always had the base game as free. All the creative tools as far as, going in and editing a character and adding functionality and brains and coding it yourself, you could always do from day one. So we would add, pretty much more content and more assets to the game that people could add and do cool stuff. And then later in, kind of through that, we just realized that, we saw this as a creation engine and that, we really wanted to open the doors for, creativity. And so we made, what we called a transition to a creation incubator, something along those lines.
Sure.
It was kind of wordy. Probably not our best title.
It's a clever marketing
now that
title.
I think about it. Yeah. There you go. But we basically became a completely free, 100% free game. So everything that was DLC became free. We did this in 2015. It was it December? I think it was earlier.
It was probably earlier than that.
I think it was October, actually. I think it was in our last year.
So just after a year then.
But yeah, so we made this transition where everything became free, and it was really cool. A lot of new people came and tried it out. It was pretty awesome.
So, I mean, were you able to glean metrics from that and just see kind of the spike in traffic and all the new worlds popping up and people?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think our uploads, I don't have an exact figure to share, but it was magnitudes higher from what we saw before. And it was what was really cool. It's not even about necessarily the quantity, but it was the quality, because so in our base game, right, it was you typically have this forest and you have goblins and you're creating experiences and you have how many hundreds of assets. But when we opened it up and and of course throughout this year after launch, we were launching content packs like crazy.
Yeah.
In total, we created 46 content packs.
Wow.
Which is, at one point they had a release cadence of every 2 weeks. I mean, our content team and our team were just flying through them. We'd be able to make it, put together, get it wrapped up, and it was just a crazy fast pace. And we actually, at one point we realized that release cadence was actually too quick, and so we slowed it down to once a month and a little bit meatier size packs that had a little bit more content. But that's another story. But yeah, so, what was cool is the quality, once they had, everyone had access to all this stuff for free, went dramatically up. It was just a lot more fun to play the games that were in the feeds because they had so much more variety to them. So that was a huge benefit to creators and players.
Were you, part of any of the curation team? I mean, did you get to go in there and kind of identify some of the...
Community management. We did all of the moderation and curation as far as what came in the feeds. So we had a featured feed, so that was... actually primarily my responsibility to go in and pick stuff to be featured, and that was always a big deal for a creator to have something featured, right, and get highlighted up there. I remember when I got, I was a community member and got featured. I was super excited. I ran over to my wife and just I'm like, ah,
I've made it big time.
I made it. Yeah, it's really cool that, I mean, not very many things, especially on a console, right, offer you the ability to be so creative and then put it in the eyes of thousands of people. And so my tenure on on my personal account for Spark, I have about I think 14 to 15,000 downloads.
Jeez Louise.
That's an awesome audience, yeah. And I mean, we have
I
our.
think I have like 200.
Oh, there you go. Need to work on that. So you're trying to tell me that Hitmaker achievement was nowhere in sight for you?
Oh no, I got it. I just that's 100 of the 200. So
Yeah. That's
You're
Rising
thinking
Star.
of
or
Rising,
wait, oh,
you're thinking of
Rising Star. You're right. Yeah, the 50,000 downloads.
Yeah,
one?
the
Oh, yeah.
famous 50,000.
Well, see, I
achievement.
didn't start the game until the closure was announced, actually. So I was gonna start it the week before it was announced, and then something happened and I didn't. And then it was announced, and like, okay, I got to get this done.
Yeah.
Yeah. You needed to play it earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Just on the changeover to completely free, did you have an increase in the number of people getting into it solely for achievements? Was there a change in the?
I mean,
some of the
I
words that
think
happened
the
there?
fact that we were free to play always from the beginning, that you had people always checking it out as far as achievement hunters. And I think with the DLC becoming free or completely free, I'm sure we had a bump. But I think it's just excitement around the content most part. I think we always had a good amount of people always looking for achievements. Really, there's definitely a bump though, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially
And,
with I know there's some achievements that are tied to paid packs or whatever.
Yeah, in regards to that then, I mean, that transition, when did the achievement changes come? I mean, so, because a lot of that was tied to, the in-game currency and, and in-game functionality, and then, like, across the board, almost every one of those achievements got some sort of easy alternative. How did that transition happen?
Sure. So, I mean, that was something I was very sensitive to. Like, immediately as we were deciding to make these really big changes in how Spark was set up, right? We were getting rid of our marketplace, making everything free, kind of really lowering the bar to entry. We had to change dramatically some of the systems in our game, right? We had achievements tied to the marketplace. We had this mini game called the Treasure Trove that was all about rewarding content, which, well, everybody gets all content, so there's not really much to reward there, right? So, we had to make all these alternatives, and we, at that time, we're looking at it and we say, well, here's an opportunity to improve some of the, planned out achievements that we had from the get-go that, in hindsight weren't, planned very, I guess, considerately. Or, I mean, I guess it's just, you don't really know what's going to happen, right? Like, I honestly believe the very beginning, with the achievements, of course there's super high ambitions, and they're like, 50,000 downloads, we're going to, hundreds and hundreds of people are going to be able to get this, and, no, it didn't quite get there, and that's obviously really limiting when it's like, when I'm looking at a list, I'm like, there's 12 people who've gotten this legitimately. That's a problem,
right?
I think, right, and I know it stops people from trying our game because completion is really important. If you can't get 100%, that's going to stop people from playing. And
that was me, because I'm total. If I can't 100% it, I won't play it, kind of thing. I mean, if it's something I'm really, really, I really, really want to play, I'll play it on a dummy tag. But kind of generally, like, if I can't complete it, no play. Especially if it's like a big commitment. Like,
gotcha.
The Spark, it's like, okay, well, I mean, I could make, like 2,000 accounts or something and download my own worlds 50,000 times, but that's going to take... That's going to be another graph.
Honestly, sounds like it's not worth it, Yeah.
It wouldn't be the craziest thing I've done for achievements, I don't think, but
and I have to highlight that, so this is, with Spark, there is actually this tension between our users and achievement hunters. And it's been that way since day one, unfortunately. And it's just because we had these achievements that were tied specifically to downloads. And, and there's a lot of stuff with, like, these feeds are public. So you have these achievement worlds that come in and kind of flood the feeds, as it were. And it makes it hard for, people who worked hours and hours and hours on their levels. Content. So, and that obviously, like, for us, like, we never would want to, like, the worst, I could have nightmares about people losing their good levels in the feeds. Like, that would, I get, sweats thinking about it. So we had to have, the solution. So, we eventually, we created a pretty quickly, actually, an achievement hunter feed where, if you had the word achievement in the title, it would auto route into that correct feed and away from everything else.
Which is brilliant.
And then, and I think that solution worked out decently well. Obviously, there was a naming scheme that we couldn't enforce, right? Just the creative nature of the game prevents us from like, oh, your world automatically somehow is an achievement world. We don't have that ability to do that. So we had actually, a response that we later had to do, and it was actually after going totally free, because we did see this, uploads, go in magnitude higher, and also with that, there was some achievement hunting going on. So we actually had to increase our moderation, as far as, on achievement world. So if they didn't have achievement in the title, they could be moderated out and removed. And I think I definitely made some people unhappy when there was actually a Rising Star session, and I felt bad, but all the labeling was it was totally incorrect. Everybody had this, there was no achievements, getting used correctly, and they were flooding the feeds, and I had to start removing stuff. And, people are like, I was at 87 downloads with 12 hours left. And, and I get it. Rising Star is a pain. I don't have Rising Star on my personal account yet, and I need to get that done. But, for us, it was obviously a huge priority to have our creators, they put all this effort into their worlds, and they have to be found.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, as developers, we have to think about that and, make sure that we have to, realize that achievement hunters, they will do anything to get achievements.
Yes,
they will.
I
mean, I've seen
if you make a system, achievement hunters will beat it, guaranteed.
Yep. Yeah, no, exactly. You guys are definitely a force to be reckoned with. I mean, I even seen like an XP boosting way through.
Oh, it's brilliant.
Macroing your thanks or something.
I did that.
Oh, that one makes me sick. But I
only some. I only macroed when I had nothing else left to do.
Yeah.
So.
And it's funny. It's just like in hindsight, right? Like it was pretty dumb to tie an achievement. Like I mean, I get why that there's like, oh, we want to motivate people, right, to go check out our forums and join the conversation. But that wasn't the right way to do it. Especially in having an achievement tied to it. It was like just a happen chance, right? They were just like, oh, we'll just have an achievement that's like all tier 1 milestones, but one of those is thanks on the forum too. Yeah. And that ended up all these threads get created that are like, please thank me, I'm done, all right, and that's obviously not contributing anything to the conversation.
Right.
Yeah. And I kind of worried that the forum would be struggling a bit under the load, because you can essentially spam that thank you button with an alternate account to build up XP on that tier. So I kind of worried that
I mean,
you'd be getting all these requests to think, and yeah.
I mean, it probably has impacted the site.
Yeah.
I'm not going to confirm any of our, we've had web trouble in the past, but I can't really confirm the exact stuff behind it, but that's for all the, I'm very non-technical, but for all of our devs, they're probably crying right now. They're like, that's what happened.
Well, in terms of that, like the macro for because is that what you're talking about when you're talking about macroing, or you're talking about macroing like placing objects and stuff?
Oh no, yeah, the macroing on for the things on the forums.
Okay, yeah. So the one I used, my friend wrote, because I don't know any code. My friend just wrote it for me. But it's like you just inject it in the browser, and it's just, I think it was thanking and unthanking like 10 times a second or something.
Yeah, well, I'm a developer by trade, so I actually was able to go in there, open up the console on the web browser, and essentially just fire the JavaScript hooks that do that particular action.
Yeah, that's what
I just put that into a loop.
Yeah, that's what Jack did for me, because Jack did it for himself first, and he's like, "Here, if you want to do this, just slap it."
So I tried to be nice and not overdo it, but kind of after you get to like the 8,000th, you're sort of like going, screw it. The site hasn't come down. It's okay.
Not yet. It hasn't come down.
Man, any of my my regular Project Spark users are going to be crying right now listening to the podcast. They're going to
Sorry, guys.
Well, but I guess that leads into my next
Well,
question.
we're all done now.
Yeah,
So.
that leads to my next question. Is there any other achievement changes that are going to happen? Like, is Rising Star going to get any easier?
We're not, and I mean, I would love to be able to be like, after, so for those who don't know, because I don't think we've officially talked about it on this cast, but so on August 12th of this year, we are pulling down services from Project Spark. It's going to no longer be supported, which is a huge, sad thing, obviously, and I wish I didn't have to make that announcement. It's just the way things are with resources and stuff. But with that, I'd love, to be able to have the resources, right, to go in and make all these changes to achievements. And I mean, and the truth is, right, if I had the resources to be able to go in and do that, they would be dedicated to other things than fixing the achievements, actually, right? Like I would be trying to figure out how to, keep in the last 6 months of Spark, we were really focused on education, actually, and getting Project Spark in classrooms.
Oh, sure.
And, the one thing we never actually got done, and I would 100% put all my, resources available to it if I could, was making a standalone education app that was able to, would be easily in the store, didn't need a lot of services, and, teachers could run it in their classroom for education purposes. And that would have been, priority one if I, had any resources to dedicate to it. But unfortunately I don't. So we're not making any changes to achievements. I 100% guaranteed at least probably 50% of our achievements will become unattainable after the date. I think some of the Conquer stuff and some of the tutorial and things around Champions Quest should still work. But the full assumption for anybody who's thinking about, I need to hunt, achievements down in Project Spark, it is, you should have them all done by August 12th, because it's going to be, hit or miss after that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I finished my tutorial achievements today. Those are my last ones, other than my weekly challenges.
Gotcha.
I just have my weekly challenges.
Always wait to the end for the tutorial, huh?
I do. I was gonna wait till after the weekly challenge, and I'm like, I don't want to chance it, so I just did them.
Oh, and I got to say this. So I actually, I'm motivated now on my personal account to, try to get my own completion for Spark.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how far are you?
I only have about 14 achievements left, I think. So I'm pretty close. But last night I had the most perfect run in Conquer's Big Reunion ever. I got all the difficult ones in one run. I thought I would have to play through it a couple times, but nope. I got the sure shot, which is don't get hit by the teddies. Yep. The don't die through the whole thing, which is Where's Greg. What's the one where you can't one drink, you can only have one drink to extinguish the TNT.
I got lucky with that one. I got that one on my first try. Same. I don't know how. Apparently that one's really tough.
Yeah, that one's, you have to be right on. The thing about it that's hard is especially when you alright, so for those who don't know, for this achievement, you're playing as Conquer, so true to a Conquer game, it's a kind of a little on the risque side, but you're urinating to put out these, this TNT fuse that's going to blow up the Cock and Plucker. And you have to take a swig of beer or I should say lightly covered beverage.
There you go. Right.
Since it's a T-rated game.
Foamy apple juice.
We have a bottle in the game, and it's called Beverage Bottle. Very particularly. But yeah, so you have to drink, and then you're able to urinate. And you have to do it in one shot. But when you first do it, you don't even know what the distance is going to be like. Yeah. And so in just trying to measure it and get the feel for it is probably going to waste most of your fuel before, so you're going to at least have to go drink another time. Right. So yeah, I pulling it off in one go is really impressive.
That's funny. It's funny to see.
Even yesterday, that was the hardest one.
Did you do the stealth section for real, or did you use the glitch?
I did it for real.
Oh.
You had
a really good run.
I got all 5 of the difficult ones that aren't related to just going through the story. I got all in one go. I was like, all right, well, I guess I call it a night. You can
You don't
jump,
know the glitch?
No.
you can jump through some trees and
It makes everything in Conquer so much easier.
Oh my god, I did. Yeah, I did it the hard way.
I did it legit too.
Oh,
I know,
yeah.
fool.
So yeah, I did it. I did the glitch on both my don't die and my get the achievement to pop. Yeah, you just jump through the trees and you go through the exit because you can get the trees are high enough that you can jump to the exit. You go through the exit, none of the teddies spawn, and the achievement seems to trigger when you just get to the end. And since you haven't been caught, you don't like even though you haven't walked through the course, you're still at the end, so the achievement triggers.
Nice.
there you
And
go.
you can also go backwards through it
See,
and
now-
do a bunch of other stuff. It's long-winded, and I'll leave that. But you can use it to not die too.
It's crazy too because I like I know how these achievements are getting triggered in these levels, and like I can think a single line code, and so people don't have to be aware of this too. So we like Conquer is entirely built with the same tool set that our creators have. Like it is 100% there. The only thing that we really do differently is bring in VO that ends up customized for the story. But otherwise, that we built Conquer's Big Reunion with Project Spark. So you can edit it and go look at how everything is done in Conquer's Big Reunion. So we kind of inherently have like the most exploitable game ever because you can open it up. You can open it up and see exactly what triggers what. I mean, we don't hide that stuff, right? We in fact make it pretty open.
Well, like you said, it's a learning
but
tool.
So there's. Oh yeah, exactly. We would never want to close it down to prevent people from checking it out and doing their own stuff and seeing how this is done. There's this really cool thing that was done in Conquer's Big Reunion where we have an asset limit that we're able to put into worlds right before it starts lagging. Right. I mean, I think a lot of people have played that one Project Spark level, or the thousands that are out there that probably a younger individual spammed like 1,000 characters into it and then uploaded it. And like as soon as you start that world, it's just like, oh, I have 1 FPS. And I'm like, okay, well, why did they even upload this? But but we allow that creative freedom for people to do that and to basically break it. But yeah, I mean, we never wanted to limit people, and we wanted to also, these experiences that we built, like Champions Quest 2, they were all there to prove the tool set,
right?
Show like this is what can be done in Spark.
Yeah, for sure. Now, like when you keep saying we, so for like Conquer DLC, so who's the we? Did that come from the fans? Was that internally through your group? I mean, was there like one champion who's like, oh my god, I love Conquer so much, let's do it?
Well, so when I say we, like typically I'm talking about like the team, right? Team Dakota, as the studio. As far as Conquer DLC, the story goes. So Conquer was in development before I got on the team. So I might be not 100% accurate, but my general understanding is how it went was it was actually fan feedback to Phil Spencer, and there's a tweet that is like, hey, Conquer would be really cool in Project Spark, and this is early, I think January of 2014, and that actually trickled down to where like, yeah, that'd actually be a really cool idea. Why not do something with this character, and there's some controversy around the reveal of Conquer joining Project Spark,
right?
In that in 2014 trailer. I still have to watch the video of the guy coughing up like his blood or whatever it is. Have you seen? You guys know what video I'm talking about? There's a reaction video of the reveal of Conquer, and it's actually like I'm on the team or whatever. And I appreciate it. I think it's cleverly done. It's what's his name? John something. I don't know. Anyway, but it's the there's this this excitement of like Conquer's getting his own game, and then of course it's like, oh, he's in Spark, and I get that for everybody, not everyone's excited by Project Spark, and I get it's not a wide appeal game, but for the people who really it really resonates with it, it's something that's totally unique and nothing else really comes close to it. We decided in that that period of time that like it would be awesome to actually augment this experience with new IP, and I think I think Conker's Big Reunion actually showed that, like, this kind of 3D platform and stuff worked really well in the Project Spark engine, and how to actually build those games. Now I think we actually made a pretty darn good Conker game. I really, wish we were able to do more episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from that though, did you have any of the users who, created some like great content that you'd almost consider like, hey, if you played that first one, you should give this one a try?
Oh yeah, so no one really tried to continue our story and make like their own episode 2 or anything. But even, we actually did this awesome thing with some community members. We gave early access to Conker. They were able to, so like they had a week or two before Conker released to make these levels, and we did a whole featured feed of Conker stuff right at the get-go. And they were incredible. There was a this one that's like it's Conker's Whack Off, but it was Whack-A-Mole with Conker, and that was just insanely fun and addicting, and it had not quite
the name is so appropriate.
It is for Conker. It's perfect. Yeah, and we didn't want to shy away from that. We really wanted to embrace like the Conker spirit. And there was a tower defense game, right? Any kind of genre. I actually did a Conker level. Me and the other community manager, we put out a world that was the Halo level. I think it was Ascension. It's the like rocky one with the central pillar.
Right.
But we actually made a multiplayer map based, like basically a third person shooter on that map with Conker characters, and we created this like Smash Brothers character select, and it had like Master Chief and Marcus Phoenix and stuff.
That's funny.
It was really fun.
And Teddies.
Yeah, and then just for fun, and Teddies, and we for fun threw in like the home run bat, so you could like send people just like flying.
That's awesome.
But yeah, no, we had a great launch, and people continued to make, awesome Conker content, throughout after we put them in there. Even actually the benefit, like I'd say one of the biggest benefits is what we called biomes, right? So people are pretty familiar with that term now because of Minecraft. But we had our biomes, which are, the different kind of the rocks and the trees and the paint textures and stuff that kind of made the environment. And, we did this one for Conker, and I think that was our best looking one. So people wouldn't even use the Conker character, but they would actually use those assets to create better looking games in their other stuff.
Do you know of any of those creators who like tried to parlay some of the Project Spark stuff into promoting themselves for a job? Be like, hey, you want to see some of my development stuff? Like, look what I made in Project Spark.
Yeah, I definitely know of people who through Spark they're fully now committed to like game development, and it really pushed them there. Like I wouldn't say I don't know anybody who's like at least has come back to me and is like, hey, I landed this industry job. But actually most of them are all wanting to do more like indie development. So they're with the news and stuff, we fully expect people to move on and not necessarily, if they're not hunting achievements or being nostalgic, right? We don't necessarily expect people to still be building, amazing levels in Spark. But a lot of our, these core creators who are day in and day out are now using like Unity and Unreal, and it's really satisfying because a lot of them come back to me and are like, this Project Spark really prepared me to use these engines and to really think, about, how programming works, and as far as asset creation and stuff like that. It's really inspiring. Like, and it's exactly what we wanted to have happen with Spark, right? Like, we always saw Spark as, it's, some people would be like, why can't I monetize my game and sell it on this Xbox store? And, and we always saw Spark as more of a hobbyist and get you into gaming, but it's not a replacement for Unity or Unreal, right? Or anything like that. But yeah, so it's really inspiring for us, for me, and for the team to see these creators now go on and have this backing as they try to pursue more development.
Sure, yeah, no, absolutely. Was there any of these tools used in like game jams and things? Other developer events that it's like, hey, who can make the coolest thing in Project Spark over this period of time? Did you guys coordinate any of that?
Oh, Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, we did tons of game jams. That was kind of that was our jam, so to speak. So I think over my time at Spark, there was 4 really big game jams. We had one that was sponsored by Ford, so it was called the Ford Game Jam. Then we had the Community Game Jam, which was actually in the fact that we helped coordinate it with a third party Project Spark fan site, project-spark.org, and that went really well. And then we also did what we called the 10x40 Creation Jam, or I guess just Creation Jam, but that one was really unique in the fact that we were put restrictions on our creators, and they had to create these small experiences with not a lot of assets and stuff. And then finally we had like our biggest one ever, which was the Developers Game Jam. Which was basically like, go make the most epic game to blow our minds that you possibly can with a team that you want, right? I mean, so, the winner, we had 2 winners, 2 different categories, arcade and epic. So the epic winners actually, I mean, their game was like 2+ hours long, fully voice acted with, because you can actually bring in voice with Kinect. They, had motion capture. They did, custom image importing, which you could actually do. They not a lot of people know that you can do custom image importing, but there you go. But I mean, they took it to like extreme levels. And definitely, in my opinion, got first place from a ton of work. It's like a team of like 6 or 7 veteran creators. And then on the arcade side, they just made like pretty much one of the best, tough as nails like platformers you could think of, with like visuals that just like rocked your socks off.
That's awesome.
I should mention them on stream and give them a shout out. So the first, if you only have 2 games to play in Project Spark, I'd probably recommend these 2. There's a lot of games. There's actually a list floating around. You can find it on .com. That's like the top 150 levels in Spark, and it's that's a really good way to go spend a weekend and just pick the ones that are interesting to you and just check out what these very I guess I would call it, hobbyist game developers were able to do with Spark. But the 2, so the epic category was Orbit 32 Resilience, and then our winner in the arcade category is One Time Hero. So definitely recommend checking out those 2.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll put a link to that in the show notes. So if you guys out there want to go track those down, you'll be able to. That's really cool. In terms of like Team Dakota themselves, the entity, those developers, how did that transition go with the closure, quote unquote, closure of the studio? Were people just being redeployed, or was it kind of just this abrupt, hey, it's over, you go on your merry way type thing, or were people kind of getting pulled here and there to go work on other projects?
So I would say the first kind of in the beginning, we definitely had some people actually move over to Minecraft because our game launched, and it was actually announced pretty soon after that Microsoft acquired Minecraft. And there is I don't particularly like direct comparisons to Minecraft, but there are some similarities, right? There's this very much a maker culture, right, and very UGC kind of very community focused. Stuff like that. But, so we actually had some of our team members, go over to Minecraft, which is, awesome for them, and they're doing great stuff over there. And actually it timed really well because you almost always, right, after a game launches, you don't need quite as many people on that team anymore because the big push is over now, right? So there's that. And then, just over time, people obviously go check out new stuff. I would probably say once we actually made that transition to free, we also, when we described that transition, we moved away from active development. And so when we made that transition, a lot of our team members at Team Dakota, took either looked outside and found opportunities or took opportunities at Microsoft. And then, obviously now with, with services going away, pretty much all the team at this point is on new projects at Microsoft. And so with this decision to actually, take down services, no one was laid off or anything, which is,
yeah,
awesome.
That's nice. So I mean, do you guys still call yourself Team Dakota, or is that like a secret code, or do you,
do secret handshakes
right?
in the
You
hallways?
do like that little wink, like, "Hey, Team Dakota, I know you, buddy," or
Yeah, I mean, I would say that there's not, at this point, there's not, there isn't really a team of people, right, supporting, Spark at this point, right? They're all doing their other things. I'm, even myself as the community manager, I'm almost 100% on other projects now, and I'm basically just making sure, the game gets to August 12th. We're committed to keeping services up until then, and everything else, and making sure the forums are still moderated and stuff. But besides that, I'm actually looking at other working on other projects.
How many people left are actually still kind of working on Spark? I mean, like even.
Oh, I mean,
I was always kind of under the impression that you were the only person left.
So definitely I'm not the only person left, and that should be pretty obvious because I've admitted to I'm non-technical, right? So I was going to say
with the servers going down a couple weeks ago,
I'm definitely getting supported by a few developers for sure. But yeah, I mean, super small, but I'm not going to say an exact figure, but it's not, it's not more than.
You're not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Out there all by your lonesome. Help me. So Thomas, like, what's your current role at Microsoft now? What do you do there? If you're not, apart from your current Project Spark workload, but you mentioned other projects.
Yeah. So may not be all that interesting to your audience. I'm not sure because they're actually non-gaming related. I'm actually doing some support on a. That's actually a game, so I guess it is gaming related in a way. But there's a little thing that's called Kodu Game Lab, which is funny enough a predecessor and inspired a lot of what's going on in Project Spark. But Kodu Game Lab was always made with education in mind. It's a total education platform. It came out released in 2009 for Xbox 360, and quickly made it over to Windows. And Kodu Game Labs is like super lightweight program, and it runs all the way back to XP, which is super convenient for educators. Because you can't, the landscape of PCs and education don't change very rapidly, or the like Project Spark. To roll that out, you had to have at least Windows 8.1, and then you also had to have like a pretty decent graphics card, and that's obviously limiting on what schools can adopt it. But regardless, yeah. So I'm doing some support there with Kodu Game Lab actually, but very much more in an education capacity. And then I'm also on a recently announced project that's called Bot Framework. And Bot Framework is this basically it's a developer framework, and it's meant for developers to go on and build chatbots that can be deployed across multiple channels at once without changing your code. So I could build a chatbot and then put that out, and it would go on Skype, it would go on Kik, it would go on Facebook Messenger, SMS, email, all these different channels, and it would just work without you having to change anything. You could just enable these channels.
That's pretty cool.
So it is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's this. So there's this initiative by Microsoft now. And Satya talked about it at Build this year, right? It's conversations as a platform. This idea that it's more dialogue for input, and using the chat window to have these interactive experiences. And so, Bot Framework is one of these things that Microsoft is doing. It's really cool. It's actually, as somebody who came in from this legislative background to doing and then was on gaming, and now I'm doing this thing on chatbots. It's kind of like I'm just going with the flow at this point. I might be doing something totally different in 3 months. You'll have to invite me back.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you've alluded to it a few times already, but you obviously consider yourself a gamer. I mean, you do enjoy playing games.
Yeah.
How do you classify yourself? Are you a completionist? Do you like to just dabble and play everything? Do you like your shooters? Do you like your puzzle games? How do you fall?
Do you like achievements? Well, it sounds like you like achievements.
So it's real. My relationship with achievements is kind of interesting. So I do really like achievements, and it's really satisfying for me to get that 100%. I'm also not terribly bummed if I like can't get 100%, right? Like, so I think a recent game that came out that just looks like a crazy 100% is Overwatch.
Yep.
But that's not going to stop me from playing Overwatch, right? Like, I want to play this game. It looks fun, and I think I'm only at it's all multiplayer, right? And it's, all these things that are like luck based. And then you also have to, to get these achievements, you have to play with like every champion, and, in order to get them, you have to pretty much be pretty good with that champion. And that takes a long time, but it's not going to stop me from playing it. So I like to get I like to get completions when it's realistic, but otherwise not. But I know I play a wide variety of stuff. So, recent games that I've been playing. Let's see. This year I spent 150 plus hours on Death March in Witcher 3. I actually got 1,000 Gs in the base game, and I haven't picked up the DLC yet. Witcher is probably my favorite game so far I've played this year. But I like indies too. Oxenfree, I 100%ed, and that was a great experience and totally worth it. And I think that's a game that, for your achievement hunters out there, I would definitely recommend if you haven't picked it up yet. And I think supporting, those smaller devs is also really cool.
Oxenfree is a great game. It was kind of funny with that one as well. In Oxenfree, you've got sections where you see an image of yourself in the mirror, but with a strange name and backwards talking. And the way they've engineered that is that your friends will actually appear if they've played Oxenfree. So I've had a few comments now about me appearing in people's games of Oxenfree in their mirrors. Yeah, so that's cool. And it's a really, really good game.
Tell Michael not to stay with Clarissa.
Yeah. What? Who are you?
That game was, and I came in that game though. Like I saw it look good, and I heard some buzz about it. And the only buzz I heard about it was it gets weird, right? And I was like, okay, that sold me. And I picked it up, and like I'm getting through it, and then I'm like, whoa, this got weird. That's like my exact same reaction, right? I mean, I don't know. It was just a really cool experience. I thought the art was good, and it was one of these. If you have a dedicated weekend to gaming, you can get your 1,000 G on it, no problem in 2 days. Probably the only tedious one that you kind of have to go out of your way is the silent type one, but it's still only probably a 2-3 hour thing.
That one's kind of funny too, because you kind of leave a lot of people hanging in conversations because you sort of have to not say anything and they're asking questions.
You kind of feel bad, like you have this instinct, right? I thought the way that they did conversations was really interesting, like just with the either don't respond or kind of interrupt other people talking. It was kind of nicer than more organic, right? Than the wait, like Fallout till you press one of the 4 buttons that lead to yes.
Yep. And they're just staring at you, boring their eyes into your soul, waiting for your answer. Have you heard anything about the DLC or the new endings and so forth they're releasing for it?
I saw that they did it. I was thinking, they're going to probably add achievements, but I don't think they did. And I don't know. I think if they add achievements, I'll probably go back, but I honestly have such a backlog that I feel like I got a pretty good experience with Oxenfree at this point that I probably am not going to go back.
Don't get me started on backlogs.
Yeah, we can talk about backlogs for a long time.
Yeah.
I've got more unstarted games and started games by like a lot.
I believe
it's really bad. It's so bad.
This is kind of pathetic, but whatever. I was like, oh man, this year at New Year's Eve, I was like, I need a resolution. I was like, but I want to do something like that's fun, right? I don't want to do like go work out at the gym. So I actually have a gaming resolution to work through my backlog. So I have like a list I do by each month, and I have like basically a big game that I play, so it's like a AAA title, and then I'll do a smaller game, like an indie game, and then I'll actually do a achievement game, which is specifically something that I've played in the past that I want to go back and get back to 100%. So that's like I kind of structure my gameplay like that. It's kind of anal, right, and really organized, like probably too organized for some people, but it's actually been a really good cadence for me, and it keeps me trying new things, because I can get into a multiplayer rut where all of a sudden I'm like, I've only played Gears of War Ultimate Edition for 3 weeks. Like, that happens to me. I'm a big Gears of War guy too.
Oh, Destiny for me.
Oh yeah, Destiny too.
Elite Dangerous.
I haven't had one of those for a while. It used to be Gra.
That was good. That was a 3-year black hole for you.
Yeah, see, I guess you don't know the story of Gra. Do you know the achievements in Gra?
I do. The worst, so one, they're not numbered correctly.
Yes, that's one.
That always bothers me. I do like 5s and 0s, and I highly recommend other devs keep it 5s and 0s, please. And then, and then there's like the get to the climb at the top.
The
of the
3 leaderboard achievements. Yeah, I have all 3 of them.
That's awesome.
It took 4.5 years or something.
That's pretty epic.
And that's I have. What do I have now? 7 Xbox 360s.
Yeah, a lot of effort went into this.
Like, too many. I just lost count. Too many.
Sounds a little unhealthy, but that's
I don't have a problem.
Yeah.
No problem.
So this is actually a good topic, right? So no, I don't think very many games change their achievements after the fact, right? But we did with Spark. We decided to make this change. And so, right, we did have these people who legitimately got 50,000 downloads on Hitmaker, which was, I don't think very arguably the hardest achievement, right? Yeah, it's amazing.
I was going to say, I think there were like 5 people on TA, maybe like 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
there were a couple, but
there's
none.
more people that I know from our community.
I was going to say, I bet there were a lot in the community that actually like were.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a lot, but like,
but
I think I counted like 12 or 13. But like, so, what happens if, they went back to Gra and they're like, oh, okay, well, we obviously need to fix this number 1 in the leaderboard achievement. But there goes your 3.5 years of dedication. But, it allows people to actually get a completion in it. Like, I mean, what's your feeling? What happens? Like, how do you see that?
Okay, Gra has a special exemption of I would be really upset.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it takes... It took so much time to do, but if you look at a game like, okay, if you're talking an achievement that's like 200 hours, like we're talking in the thousands. But if you take it, like I also got number 1 in Quake, I wouldn't be upset if they reset the Quake leaderboards because it's not long enough that I'm like, wow, I wasted 4 years of my life, and then you reset it tomorrow. It's like, okay, now you have this new opportunity for more people. The only problem with the leaderboard resets is that people block them and it just turns into a big disaster. But if that weren't the case, if they were like, get number 1 on the leaderboards or get 1,000 kills, like what you did in Project Spark, it's like, okay, now it's a freebie.
Killer Instinct had a bunch of achievement changes.
Yeah.
That used to be that was ridiculous. At 2,000 games played per character.
I don't know if I've told you the story about that before.
That was per character?
Yeah, the story with that one though was that was being developed very sort of early. It was sort of like, I think it was one of the release games, and literally the guy had a spreadsheet of the achievements and the unlock criteria and so forth, and he just actually added an extra 0 by accident to one of them and did the spreadsheet drag, and of course it copied it to every single other one of the same criteria. So it was meant to be 200 all along, but it just due to a typo.
I didn't. Yeah,
all of them got done to 2,000, which is why they got reverted back to 200 later.
Because there were like 2 guys that completed it too. It's
like no.
Because when I looked at that, I was like, man, that's like. Just for the base characters, like that's like almost 20,000 matches, which is just. I initially thought it was online matches, which I was like, that's just nobody's gonna do that. But then no, it turns out, I mean, you could macro it if you had a Cronus or something, but still,
that's still a lot. Yeah.
That'd be like a week of macroing overnight.
Yeah, so it takes about 4 hours to do 200 matches if you're just literally going in there and losing the match every time, and replaying. So at 4 hours per 200, that's 2 hours per 100. Multiply that by however. Yeah, it's
20 hours
per character.
Yeah. And now we're up to almost 30 characters now. So
yeah.
Except Omen, he doesn't. He has a different achievement set. I don't know why, but
Yeah, I'm surprised that that even showed up publicly, because like the Q&A team would catch that typically, but I guess they just missed the 0 or whatever.
well, or they just thought that that's what it was.
Yeah,
Because I mean, it's really not.
Fine way.
It's not that outrageous. It's not like play 20,000 matches or 200,000 matches.
Well,
or
and the thing is,
something.
that
I
there
don't know.
are
I mean, it
achievements
sounds
like that out there, so it's not like you
Yeah.
go, maybe that's what they wanted.
Yeah, QA guy looks at the list and thinks, man, this guy's some kind of jerk, but I guess 2,000 it is.
Yeah, I think our Q&A team actually went through and pretty much legitimately got all of our achievements, except for like Hitmaker you can't fake, especially internally when, there's and you're on this internal server, you have only devs playing it, so it's impossible to get the download achievements. But there's not even, probably 100 accounts getting used in that sandbox or whatever. But
Yeah.
So before we wrap up here with Spark Thomas, Crandy, was there anything you still had questions on?
Oh wait, yes. I have this in our notes here. The canceled 360 version of Project Spark. What happened to that? See, because on TA it's still listed, so now maybe we can lay it to rest officially.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty much. I'm surprised it's on TA, because it was a long time ago.
Well, it doesn't have achievements, but it's a pre-release item, so it's there as being announced as what it was going to be released. But since there was never an official cancellation announcement, the pre-release item never got killed off.
Well,
So.
I mean, I don't know if you guys you can consider this official, but I mean, so it was actually. I mean, I think it was either in late 2014 even, or probably early 2015 that, we basically said it was indefinitely delayed. And that wording's mainly for the fact that, yes, there is a possibility, right, that we would have gone back and make a 360 version.
Like if you sold like $10 million worth of DLC a day or something.
Yeah, I mean, whatever the case is, it could have been possible. But with services going down here in less than 2 months, pretty safe to say there won't be a 360 version. But actually the main thing that our team ended up we wanted to prioritize Xbox One, and and we wanted to make it the best experience possible. And then of course the parity, right, it's really hard to try to bring up the 360 to try to match that experience.
I was going to say the hardware limitations there would be the killer.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of we're not going to hold back our Xbox One or PC build, for this 360 version, to try to do it. So, we prioritize that. We put all of our resources later on, for sure in Xbox and PC. And I think that, that was the way to go. And I'm sure there's people who are, looking forward to a 360 version. But I mean, I can honestly say, like, if you haven't picked up an Xbox One yet, like, I don't know how you haven't yet. Especially now, it's super cheap. Like,
yeah, it's so cheap, and like especially if you get it on a sale, like.
Yeah, I mean, and then the Xbox One S announcement and all that's only going to make. I mean, I think. I feel. I mean, so I have no information, right, regarding hardware plans. So let me just put that straight out. Let me say that right now. Get that out of the way. But like, I mean, the Xbox One S, right, is this already coming out at a pretty cheap price, right? I mean, it's a pretty cost-effective model to me. So, I mean, I think you'll see the Xbox One base model leave retail pretty soon, and stop showing up in inventory. Anyway, so I mean, if you want to grab one of those, I think now would be the time, because I think by holiday it'll be hard to find a black box, or hopefully we eventually get a black colored one, but the original ones won't really be around.
Oh, I saw a bundle with Rise and Sunset Overdrive for $180.
Oh yeah, that was on Groupon, the Microsoft refurbished one. Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to see a lot of them like in the used market too. It's like you're going to have all these people trading in their ones for the new ones, and there's going to be this massive image. I don't know. GameStop doesn't ever lower their prices though, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm holding on to mine because I have an Elite console actually, that it was actually, I think, a decent decision, but I couldn't wait any longer to get my hands on an Elite controller, so I did a trade-in with my console to get an Elite console so I could get the Elite controller because they were sold out everywhere. And got whatever perks that came. You know, there was some like deal off and a free controller and all the stuff that came with it. So I actually thought it was worth it. But I'm definitely I'm happy with that console, and I'm gonna wait for Scorpio. But I think anybody who's an Xbox enthusiast, right? So probably all you guys and the achievement hunters and stuff. Like, I think it makes sense that as long as you're think you're gonna be able to afford whatever comes out in holiday 2017, like, I mean, you might as well hold off.
Yeah, I've got some issues with Scorpio, but we'll leave those aside for now. We talked about those last week.
I'll have to go back and listen to that.
Yeah,
I mean, I love the passionate like conversations that go on. I mean, I'm if it hasn't been clear yet already. I mean, besides this loving Project Spark and be community manager. I mean, I'm just a huge fan of Xbox, and love the stuff that they're doing and things like that. So I love obviously listening to community and what the feedback is. So seeing all those conversations and listening to them, I can just do that all day. Listen to all those, even if the arguments get old.
Well, we've got some heated debate in the last on our last E3 episode. It's like 5 hours long though.
That sounds super exciting.
I think Spark Thomas and I are going to have our own podcast that can be way more positive than all you downers.
Are you going to team up with those really positive guys?
Yeah, anything to combat all the negativity.
Well, then I'll spin off my own Raincloud Randy podcast.
Raincloud Randy's Rantscast?
Pretty catchy, I have to say, the naming.
Where did that even originate?
Raincloud Randy? I don't really remember.
I think it must have just popped up in our Skype chat or something like that. And
must have
stuck.
Hopefully, all the achievement changes and stuff have worked out for you guys. And I do hope that I think our biggest thing, right, with achievements and stuff with Spark, and like in the end, right, it's just awesome to have people trying it out and playing the game, and really seeing just the potential there. So even if 5% of achievement hunters who came in were just like, wow, people are actually making cool stuff in here, and wow, this creation stuff's pretty fun. Like, I mean, that's a huge win for us. So,
well, even from the standpoint of teaching people some kind of coding, like creating that XP loop. I mean, someone used the tools available to create something and ultimately break the game.
Yeah.
The experience. That one saved me a lot of time.
Yeah, I've seen that one too. But yeah, so no, I just I really appreciate all the listeners, anybody who's tried out the game. I mean, I do at this point. If you haven't jumped into Spark and you're a completionist, you're getting pretty close to where it's probably a good idea not to start it.
Yeah, it's impossible at this point. You need the 10 weeklies.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. Yeah, we're past 10 weeks.
Well, there's still value for you GTA SC people because there are a lot of easy achievements in Gamerscore, but you completionists. Actually, that reminds me, what happens in August to all that content that's on there? I mean, can people still play their creations?
That's a great question. So you are no longer will be able to browse user-generated content. It won't be getting served to you by the services, unfortunately. But if you'd like something that, for instance, I mentioned all these, really good games, previously, like if there's something that really catches your eye and you'd like to go back and play it, all you have to do is find it today, and then you go in there and you can remix it and basically save a local copy, and that will stay with you. So yes, if you have anything that you would like to play, after the fact, go ahead and do that. This should also be mentioned too. If you are a new person and haven't already downloaded Spark, you actually can't.
You can still get it on disc, though. That I had to do that.
Oh,
because I thought I had downloaded it, but I didn't. So then I was like,
yes,
I need it now. So I think it was like $10 on Amazon. It was pretty cheap.
Yeah, and I haven't publicly said this, but I sympathize and I apologize to the very quick announcement and pull out from the marketplace. I know that definitely is kind of a catch by surprise, and that's never my preference in communication, right? It's kind of like a bait and switch or something, and and that's honestly, it's just kind of more of a legal thing, and just the timing of it. It's like when you make an announcement like that, you can't encourage more downloads and people to get more invested in it, and it's just it's all part of that. So people who, have a lot more degrees than me make these decisions. But there you go. But yeah, so I apologize for people who were like saw the announcement and wanted to jump in and download it and couldn't. But yeah, but then again, you probably shouldn't have waited.
Oh, we appreciate any announcement. I mean, we're used to games just up and not working one day.
See, I didn't get it because I thought I had it, because I thought I got it when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go into my history and like, nope.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people downloaded it, like at the very open beta time. And
yeah, because that's usually what I do. As soon as something comes out, if it's free, I'll just add it to my history. So if it does get pulled or whatever, then I have it. But yeah, I don't know. I had it on Windows.
Yeah, gotcha.
I got the Windows one, but not the Xbox one. But I think I got my $12 worth out of it, so I'm not super upset.
Cool.
So you mentioned your monthly gaming challenge to yourself. I mean, June's almost over. What are you finishing up, and what are you going to start for July?
Oh, yeah. So what am I playing right now? Yeah. So this... Let me think. So I just finished... I actually, like last year, I stopped in the middle of Arkham Knight. I was like 50% of the way through, and then the holiday rush comes, right? And it was like, abandon anything I'm playing. I'm picking up the new releases. And I can't remember. I think actually I got back into Destiny with Taken King at that time. So, and then I just, from then on, it was September, October, and it was just launch after launch. So I just dived into that. So I went back and finished Arkham Knight. I haven't done all my completions yet, and the Riddler trophies and all that jazz. So I am actually, for achievement hunting, I'm going back and doing a nightmare run for Alan Wake. Mm-hmm. My first time playing it is when I got it for pre-order with Quantum Break, which was also awesome. And I 100%ed that in April. So yeah, and then in July, I actually want to go back and do Far Cry 4, which I woefully underplayed when it first came out, and I would like to go back and play some of that. So yeah, that is my current lineup, and then I'm dabbling in lots of different multiplayer. I still have right now. I'm holding off from Gears until pretty much Gears 4 comes out, because I know I'm going to hit that really hard when it comes out. So I'm doing a lot of Overwatch, and Rocket League are probably my go-to right now.
Oh, Rocket League is so good.
I just recently tried Rocket League at my friend's place.
It's good.
It was fun.
Mm-hmm. I also think for a very multiplayer focused game, I thought they had some of like a really good achievement structure, where it was like, incentivize you to try different things, but nothing crazy, right? It didn't expect you to put hours upon hours upon hours into it. So I thought it was pretty fair. I thought they had whoever did their achievements did a good job.
So before we let you go, is there anything you wanted to plug? Anything you want people to check out? Twitter for people to bother you, or like a gamer tag? I mean, if you care to game with any of our listeners?
It's funny. The one thing everybody plugs is their Twitter account, and for being a community manager and managing social media accounts, I actually don't have I have a personal Twitter account, but it's so utilized. I actually have it hidden because it's embarrassing at this point. I'm so focused on doing other company social media that I don't do my own. So I wish I was able to plug something like that, but unfortunately I don't. But no, so Thomas Gratz was my name. Hopefully, I'd love to, continue, with gaming at some point. The stuff I'm doing now is pretty fun, but I would definitely say gaming is my passion. So hope to find myself, continuing to that trend, and talking to you guys, but another future title or something.
Awesome.
And then, my gamer tag is Zetarg, which is ZZTARG. That's my personal gamer tag. I'm not a true achievement guy. I just look at my own list, but I don't think I'm registered on there. Yeah, but that's it. I think that's it for my plug. Just hope everybody's enjoyed their time achievement hunting in Spark and just playing it and checking it. I really do recommend I think there's a lot of people who do achievement hunt and just go for that and quickly, it's a quick enter and leave, right? But really, I think take some time and actually play through some of the highlights from the community and check out the lists that are up online about just the best stuff to play, because, they're as good, even sometimes, better, right, than like the indie stuff you can play out there, and it's entirely free. And I know it's not achievement hunting, but take a couple hours and go see what the community was able to pull off. It'll make you, at least for me, right, it'll make you really wish services were able to stay up longer, because stuff got better and better and better. So it's like, if with more active development and and with 2 years time, right, what could have been built. It's definitely not the end for creative platforms, though. I mean, that's a huge market, and I think games are getting more and more focused on building their community and giving tools in game to allow people to be show their personality, right? You see Forge and Halo, and you see libraries and or did I say that right? I don't know. And Forza and stuff like that, and obviously Minecraft. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say Doom just did Snap Map. I haven't tried it yet, but
yeah,
I think they added support for like building campaign levels too, which is kind of cool. Because I initially thought it was just gonna be for multiplayer maps like Forge. Like I thought it was basically just their Forge, which it is. But I think there was something, I don't remember. It must have been an E3 or just in general, maybe on Twitter. But they're saying that like they added support for making like actual missions and community games and stuff, which I thought was really cool and interesting, because that's not something you see very often, especially with a game like Doom that's just a shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or like even I know this is pretty much focused on Xbox, but like Mario Maker is doing really well, and that's awesome for Nintendo, right? Like, we'd love to see, I'd love to personally like see a Zelda version, right, where it's like the top-down old Zelda, and you can make your own dungeons and stuff like that. Yeah, that would be like
you could do like a whole campaign.
Yeah. Oh man. Like I don't have a Wii U, which kills me, because I particularly love like UGC and creative stuff. So I'd love to play some Mario Maker. But hopefully NX or whatever whatever comes next is going to be back compat. I think Nintendo does a pretty good job of the next console always is one generation back compat. So if that's the case, it might actually be worth picking up, because it'll have a sizable library, and then going forward we'll hopefully get the first party support that Nintendo's known for.
And I just want to thank Spark Thomas. Thomas, I appreciate you so much for taking your time out of your night to come and talk with us. I appreciate all of the work that you've done with the the Project Spark community as a manager. I mean, you're clearly very passionate about the game and working with Microsoft. And best of luck to you on all your future endeavors. I can't wait to hear about all the projects that you ultimately end up working on. You've got a great future ahead of you, and look forward to gaming with you. I hope we have an opportunity.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Oh, that was a fantastic talk that we had. Thanks again to Spark Thomas for giving us an opportunity to speak with him. I can't wait. Hoping best of luck to him. Like I mentioned, I look forward to. I mean, he's got the passion to be in the games industry. I know that's what he wants to do, and he certainly knows how to spin a great, pro company take, because he was only beaming with positivity on Project Spark, which was nice, because I like positivity. So in your face, Raincloud. Let's get into Knobs and Discos. Here's your chance to be negative. Knobs and Discos are an unobtainable and discontinued achievement segment. What do you got for me today, Randy?
Well, there's an achievement in Overwatch that is unobtainable. Let me just check which one it is. The Lockdown achievement. Nobody has won it yet, and there are numerous comments in the solution about it not working. And it just got flagged unobtainable today. So that one is unobtainable. I'm sure it'll get fixed, though. I mean, it's a game.
Oh, yeah, that game is huge, massively popular right now.
Lots of updates coming, so I think that'll be fine. And we had some good news. 2 achievements that involved sharing photos and a wanted poster in Connect Party were fixed. So
I just got those. So why were they broken? Did they just take off the server and then they came back
guessing
on? Or
they probably went a few years ago. All of the Facebook integration changed, so devs had to go in and it was a really easy fix. to my knowledge, but it's just a matter of being willing to go back to a game that's 6 months old and
Sure.
fix it. So all the Facebook integration went down, and a lot of achievements on Kinect involve sharing to Facebook. So that broke a lot, and I assume these were the same. Oh, wait, no, never mind. I'm just looking at the solution here. You have to do it offline.
Ah, sneaky.
So there's a way to trick it, and it works. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, because it seemed strange that they would actually fix it at this point. Especially on a game like Kinect Party that was like...
It's just like a weird Kinect tech demo.
Yeah. And
my kids loved it, by the way. Like, I mean, they still.
Oh, I'm sure it was fine. I'm sure it was a
Yeah.
fine game, but it's just like one of those things. It's just like whatever. Like it's a Kinect arcade game, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so those, I guess they weren't fixed. There's just an alternate solution. So that's a positive.
Shovelware Cemetery.
All right, so this week's Shovelware Cemetery, we are talking about a couple of games. We have up first. Oh, I'm here with Damien also.
Howdy.
As we usually have been doing. First one up, Walking Dead Michonne. So what did you think of that, Damien?
So
first we should start off with both of these games are at $15 price point. Or we're talking about the whole series Walking Dead Michonne, $15 or regional equivalent. And also, I don't know about the 360 version, but the Xbox One version, which is the one we played, is only available as a bundle. So essentially it's one game for $15 because there's no other way to get it, as far as I know.
Yeah, so I guess to start, I personally, I've played through both of the other Walking Dead Telltale games, which that has been my only exposure to The Walking Dead. I know I have not watched through all 6 seasons, so I came in with really no idea who Michonne was other than, okay, I guess she's in the TV series. That's all I knew. So
I think Tarragon said she's in the comic book too.
Oh, there's a comic? Okay.
Yeah, it started it. Okay.
I was hoping.
I also have not watched or read either, so this is also my first Walking Dead. This is my first Telltale game. So
yeah, so having played through all of season 1 and season 2 of the Telltale Walking Dead, I had exposure to kind of how their, I guess, game engine works, which it was very short. I think I burned through all 3 episodes in under an hour, which, I mean, for gamer score is great, but in terms of really drawing you in, I didn't get that feeling like I had from the first thing. I guess part of the premise of this, from what I understand, is Michonne's actually a character in the normal series, and that she had disappeared for a while, and so this game is supposed to kind of explain what happened in that time period. So, okay, that's great, but I just, unlike the other ones, I didn't get really torn in. There was part of the original games that I've done where when you make choices and the outcomes happen, you're like, oh, I want to go back. Maybe I want to try what happened. This I couldn't care less. Like after I made a decision going, oh, somebody dies. Bummer.
Yeah. Well, it turned out, because I was playing through the game thinking, it really doesn't seem like these decisions matter. Because that's kind of my thing, like throughout the whole game, is the decisions just kind of felt like an exercise you just had to go through, and the outcome didn't matter. Because it would say, so-and-so will remember this or whatever. But I guess it turned out that we ended up with different endings where one of your people died and mine didn't. But I don't know. I still kind of got that impression where I just don't understand where these decisions actually fit in and make a difference.
Yeah, I think if you played the original Walking Dead episodes 1 and 2 from Telltale, you'll get an idea of like how the decisions do make the impact. But I guess the thing is, like as you said, like when at the end it turns out we had 2 completely different endings, and I could go back, and I guess I will, just to do the 360 to do the stack, but even when I had my character die, I was sitting there going, I wonder if I could change that. Man, no, I really don't care.
That's the thing too, is I just wouldn't have cared. Like, it's just not, like you said, it's not long enough for you to really commit to any of the characters. Like, other than like Michonne, who was there the whole time, I mean, you have characters that come in for like half an episode and then kind of come in again like the other half an episode, and it's like, well, you were here for like 20 minutes and it's pretty brief. So it's like, it's hard to commit. And even with Michonne, who, like, you definitely get an idea of who she is, but without a proper backstory and kind of understanding it, it's hard to really know what's going on. But I could see it being a lot better for somebody that kind of knows her background, and then you have this side story.
Yeah. So I will say, having played the first Walking Dead, the game wasn't very laggy or glitchy as I've seen in past. However, playing on the Xbox One, I don't know if I would say the same for 360. I've heard people have had problems with just...
I had problems with the Xbox One version too. I had my very first experience, like in the first scene, I had crazy frame rate drops, like just slowing way down, and it's like glitches in the end. Like, the engine is just, it's forgivable when Telltale was really small. It's forgivable. You're a pretty small company. I get it. But now, like, everyone knows who Telltale is at this point. A ton of people played the Walking Dead games, and it's still using the same engine. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's time for it. Maybe they have updated it and you can't tell. But even just the interactions, like, because first of all, it's like the cell shaded graphics that, I mean, I guess if you're going for the kind of comic book look, it works, but I don't really like them that much. But I don't know. I just kind of don't like those graphics ever. And the interaction with objects is very clunky. It's like, you never look like, if you pick something up, it doesn't look like you're holding it. It looks like it's kind of floating there, or like your hands, just nothing interacts well. And it made it even harder to get pulled in. Like, if it was really immersive, like, say that was happening, I think I mentioned this before, like with Life is Strange, that I think is great and super immersive and everything. Like, I played the 360 version first. It looks terrible. Like, they definitely had to tone it down for the 360, but it doesn't matter because it's so immersive that you can get past that. Where with this, it doesn't grab you immediately. It takes a bit to get into it, and it's really short. When you have that on top of all the other things, it just takes away from it being immersive even more. So that's why I'm kind of so critical of that, where I wouldn't always be if there was enough other stuff to kind of overlook it.
Yeah, I think the one thing where, as I said, with the first Walking Dead, I think it was a really good, even number 2, they were long, there's more choices, there was more of that drawing in. This for me just really felt as in, wow, I'm just doing a few quick time events, and I make some inconsequential choices for Gamerscore. I really felt at this point, wow, I'm really just doing this for Gamerscore.
For Gamerscore, was it sure easy? I mean, we're talking like visual novel easy.
Even easier. I mean, for being but I mean, yeah, but I guess for some of it too is just
quick. Like, it's easy and quick. I think you said it took you I think it took me 3.5 hours to go through, which is quick. That's the full 1,000 in that time.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, if I had spent, unless I was a huge Walking Dead fan, this would be an interesting question for Brandon going, how was this if you're really into the series, you like her as a character, was this really developed? But for somebody not immersed in the Walking Dead comic and the TV show, I mean, unless you could spend $15 and get 1,000 gamer score.
Yeah, and I think that's really where the question is too. Is like, I don't think the story was bad. It's just hard to get into it without some substantial backstory.
Yeah,
and maybe there isn't any, and in that case, then I think it would be really hard to get into this, but maybe there is. So maybe that's a question for our listeners. If you listen or watch The Walking Dead, what did you think? Was it appropriate? There's a couple other things I got a rain cloud on. I think the playing segments I just think they feel pointless. Like where you fight the zombies at the quick time events, or you like you walk around and there's like a couple things you can interact with or a couple people you can talk to. They're just so kind of underdeveloped that I think we'd be better off just playing it like a visual novel where it just pops up with the choices and that's all you do. Like that's the whole game. And I think the game would have been better if that were the case. And really on the walking and interacting, like the camera and the controls in those sections are just brutal. Like you can't look around, like it doesn't follow you well. It's really hard to move. It's hard to tell where you are. And I didn't like those segments. I didn't find that they were a nice kind of break from the cutscenes and the story part. I think those parts were done fine with the story playing and the dialogue choices. Even though most of the dialogue choices don't really matter, that's still part of the game. That's the part you're playing. That's the part that draws you in, even if there are no consequences to them. And I think it would be better, and this may go for the others too. I don't know. I haven't played them, but I think that would be a better format than having the in-between QuickTime events and searching stuff and walking around, just because I really don't feel that it works particularly well. I don't know. What are we going to do with this one? I don't want to. It's not Barry. It's not bad. But it's not like what should I give it on TA? Because I always rate my games on TA after I finish them. I want to say maybe Purgatory. I gave it 3 stars.
Yeah, I would say Purgatory. Just like as I said, it's if you're a big fan of The Walking Dead and you at
least for us as people that aren't into The Walking Dead, playing The Walking Dead game, I would put it at Purgatory just because, as we kind of both feel that it's not enough to really draw you in as a standalone thing, where it might be for other people, but it's not for us. All right, so Purgatory. All right, we are now on to Phoenix Furia. This one is also $15. Now, who published this, or who? This one is published by Reverb Publishing and developed by Green Lava Studios. And it is kind of, I want to say a conventional platformer, but it's not. Like it is a platformer. Like it is.
Oh yeah, hands down, it's a platformer.
A true platformer. And first of all, the first thing I always kind of judge in a platformer is how solid are the controls. If I can pick it up and move really precisely right off the bat, that's solid. And this got that down, but it's not a traditional platform in that you kind of go from start to finish in a linear, like left to right, right to left fashion. It's more of you're in a stage that's kind of almost a maze, and then there are these blocks that you dodge. And for some reason, I really don't like that format, and I don't know why. Like, I don't have a logical reason to explain why I personally don't like that. It's just a personal thing. It works. There's nothing about it that doesn't work. It's just, I don't know, something about it.
Yeah, I can see that. I personally have I've always liked side-scroller platforms is my, I guess you would say, my preference when I play platformers. I mean, the thing is, this game is challenging, and as you said, the controllers are, I mean, they're right on. Every death that you have is your own fault, period. But and I think the achievements that sum it up, where I'm just trying to look through the list, I think Death Ultra Master, die 10,000 times, just in general. I think 10,000 might be excessive to get through all 300 levels, but you'll be up there. You'll definitely have cleared 1,000.
For the full 1,000 gamer score, you're probably going to hit that 10,000.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, that's not even up there on the hardest achievements, like for getting everything, finding all the red cubes, etc. So, I mean, this is a game that, I mean, if you love all types of platformers and you want a skill-based game,
and we're talking like high skill.
Yeah.
Like this is, and so much so that, see, I'm really most of the time a big fan of the high skill games. Like, I love games like I want to say like Robotron. I'm not very good at Robotron, but I love it. And it's the same thing where, you know, if you're good at it, you can play forever, but you got to get good at it. But my criticism here is that there's a lot of content in the game that is locked right off the bat. And most people, I think, are never going to make it to that content.
Yeah.
And even us, as we were playing it, we kind of talking to each other as we were working through, is we spent a pretty decent chunk of time on it. And there are other characters that we can tell from the achievements. And is there mention in the game too?
Yeah, or I'm trying to remember. So the cutscenes in the story doesn't have, I mean, other than
the story is definitely not a strong point, but I mean, it's like it feels like a Super Nintendo or a Genesis or Mega Drive game. Like it's really that kind of 16-bit look, the super hard platformer. And you know, they don't usually have a story. That's just the thing. It's a hard platformer, which is fine. I don't take the story as a criticism of it.
Yeah, but I guess the thing was, I just find, I mean, so I could almost see me on this game breaking up, doing a level, doing something else, like literally something else, like turning off the Xbox and doing the dishes.
Yeah.
And then coming back, playing a level. Like, there wasn't anything in it that kept me, I got to just, I mean, I'm definitely the OCD type where if I'm working on a level, I'm going to go through to like get that level. And I mean, you were talking to me when I was going through, like, no, I'm getting the golden cookie. I'm going to go do this without deaths. And hey, I had almost 80 on that one level. But it was, once I'm done that, I'm not all of a sudden, okay, let's go do the next level. There's nothing that's really keeping you going, I need to go work through all 20 levels in one setting. You know, there's that. There's certain games, I always go back to thinking Mario, there's something that was, as it was progressing and you were, you know, going in, beating the bosses, you know, there was something that was like, drawing me through to want to keep going through it. This, not so much. This is, I'll do a level or two, I'm good, I'll come back in an hour or two, just let the frustration, you know, there wasn't anything that's drawing me in going, I got to get through to the end of this stage. And even after I got through the first world into the second world, it's like, okay, that's over now. Just moving it. There wasn't any real sense of accomplishment in a story going to the next thing. You're just like, all right, 20 more levels of this stuff.
I kind of got the same thing too, as I got to, I did the first and the second world in a sitting. That was probably like 3-4 hours sitting, I want to say.
Yeah.
And then, and I went back and I did I got some of the cookies, because every level has a cookie in it. And if you get the cookie without getting hit, then you get the golden cookie. I'm not quite sure what the golden cookies do, but you get a nice golden cookie.
But if you get all the cookies, you get a recipe. And you can go upstairs and go bake some cookies.
And you get an achievement.
Yeah, that too.
So I went back and did that. But I felt like by the time I hit the third world, I played some of the third world, and then it just felt like I'm ready for something different, because I didn't find the levels. The levels didn't seem to be getting not so much harder to the point where it's like, wow, I really want to beat that. Like, they got a little bit harder, but I was ready for the next character, and I don't know when the next character comes. I know there's another character, and I know I kind of feel like I'm shorting the review by not really being like, by not playing all the characters, but at the same time, I don't know, like, it just, maybe the characters are the same. They just have different skin.
Well, and that's where, you're looking at the achievement list and then you're looking at the ratios. I think we have to put another 10 hours, 10 hours into
because that's the thing too, is like, do we have time? I mean, we had a lot of games to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, this is a game though. I mean, if I looked at, and I think we talked about a few weeks ago, or maybe we didn't talk about on this, but the game comes out, the achievements are solid. It's difficult. It works. I mean, the controls are tight. If I look at it from kind of all of those vantage points of did they come out and put together a decent, solid game that everything functions as it's intended? Yes. And I mean, as we even said, the controls are tight, within that budget price point. Yeah, it's a great, challenging. It's a very straight up challenging platformer game, solid controls, and the difficulty is because of the level difficulty, not
it's not some kind of cheap difficulty that the game's cheating. Well, except for the boss fight. Now,
okay, I
had a problem with the World 2 boss fight. Is it's really picky. So your first character you play, you can jump infinitely. So you can jump as many times as you want, and you can dash. So and you can dash as many times as you want, and it'll go in a straight line really quickly, and then you can obviously just move and walk around. So for the World 2 boss, it was this kind of blobby thing that flies around in the air, and then it'll stick its eye out. And you have to dash through its eye, but if you touch its body that's very close to its eye, you die, and it's one hit. You die in one hit, even on easy. And you have to do that 3 times, and then after the first hit, it starts shooting projectiles at you that I think you can get hit by 2 of those. But still, and then that's on easy, because on easy you get 2 hits. On normal, you have a timer, and you can only get hit once, and then you die.
Yeah.
So I just found that because you had to kind of because it would fly through the air, you had to kind of chase it by jumping, then recognize when it's going to stop and stick its eye out for a very short time, and it's also going to shoot projectiles at you at the same time. That most of the deaths on that, I died on that more than any of the levels up to that point. Also, it just felt unfair, and I didn't like that. But the normal levels, definitely, like every death is your fault, and it doesn't feel cheap at all. I did find myself wanting to rush for some reason when I should take time. I don't know why. Just I don't. That's another thing. Like it just goes with the style. Like just some personal thing that for some reason I just felt like I needed to run through these levels really quickly for no reason and just be reckless and die all the time. Not quite sure why I felt the need to do that, but I'll just note that too. But yeah, other than that, really solid controls, really fair. But at the same time, it kind of felt like, and maybe it's not the case, it did feel like it was a lot of the same without adding a lot more complexity to it. And I felt that it did get kind of old quickly in that regard. But definitely something you could come back to.
Yeah, no, and
in short bursts.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'll definitely continue to work through it. I mean, it is challenging, and there is a little bit of a sense of reward when you do finally, get that level done or, do the speed thing, which, I mean, is good. As I said, it for the price point, I mean, honestly, and I think that's one of the things, looking between the two, the Phoenix Furia versus if I was going to go spend my $15 and my choice was between the two that we reviewed today, I would give my 15 to Phoenix. Just for me, it's something that I'm going to come back to and put more time into.
Because you're looking at maybe if you play through Michonne twice, you're looking at maybe 7 hours.
Yeah.
Phoenix, you're looking at tens plus.
Yeah.
So now, if you compare it to other things, I feel like you might be able to get more with $15. It was if it was a $10 price point, that would be
oh yeah,
for sure, totally 10. But 15 is okay. Well, you can look at some other stuff. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but
yeah.
But in general, pretty decent. I think I don't know what are we gonna do with Phoenix.
I mean, I would give this one, Sanctuary. I mean,
yeah.
If again, as I said, even though it wasn't, as a platformer, wow, it's not the most memorable stories. It's a platformer. Are they always now? I mean, did it deliver on all the notes of what a platformer does? Yes. Did it get the challenge? Yes. And it is coming in at a $15 price point. I mean, even though I think 10 would be more appropriate for what you get, the amount of time and everything, and the challenge, it delivers on all of its marks that it should.
It does. And if you keep going and we find that there's something drastically different, we can always revisit too.
Yeah.
So
definitely. So I would say we give that one Sanctuary.
As always, as we took advice from Christian Allen's opinions, if there's a drastic change, we'll always revisit. So, all right. Well, that does it for this week's Shovelware Cemetery, and we will catch you guys next time.
Thanks.
There you go. I got a touch of negative news here in our game delays. It's an indefinite delay. Criterion Games, their Beyond Cars project. Was that going to be the Burnout successor? I don't know. It was kind of a hodgepodge of different types of extreme vehicle and movement game. Anyway. It was announced back at E3 2014, and according to GameSpot, the developer Criterion has moved on. They are no longer working on this and effectively canceled it. EA, they're part of EA, the Criterion team. They're working on Star Wars, so that's their prime directive. And let's just say that Star Wars is probably going to be more lucrative for them than another car racing game.
Yep. Especially given the fact that after the response to Battlefront was pretty much totally negative and disappointing, that they're making a second one.
Yeah.
I assume that it's lucrative even if everyone dislikes it. Or
that sounds about right.
In 2 weeks.
The game that they're currently, one of their games they're working on in development with DICE is the Battlefront X-Wing VR mission. So whether or not Criterion's doing a full-on VR game that was hinted at in this current E3 trailer or E3 press conference, I'm not sure. But EA had announced multiple Star Wars titles, and so Criterion's got one of them.
Got to compete with Star Trek Bridge Crew,
Absolutely. We finally got this massive list of backwards compatible titles that were added. According to Major Nelson, here's the rundown. Fallout New Vegas, Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara, Blood Knights, Red Faction Battlegrounds, Joe Danger, Crystal Quest, Comic Jumper, and I Am Alive. What was that, 8 new titles? That's pretty good. Yeah. They just keep coming.
Red Faction Battlegrounds is the one that I think is weird. I don't know, that was just a weird game and really lame.
What I'm excited about is, I have I Am Alive and Fallout New Vegas. I'm excited to see which of these pop up, Terrigan happened to have these on 360 digitally, so woohoo! Add that to the list, like Comic Jumper, right? I know he has that, right? Everybody has that. For some reason, I don't. So, that'll be a nice, quick 8-hour completion. Only 200 gamer score, but, I'd love going back to these games. So there you have it. I don't have any zombie news this week. I have been out of town and just not really...
not up on the zombies?
Yeah, it's been weird. It's like... I'm usually pretty keen on finding something, and it's been pretty... Oh, my God, I'm going to say it. Pretty dead.
Pretty dead?
It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth to say that line, but it kind of is. Walking Dead is not really doing anything, and all the games that involve zombies kind of have already been announced. So I don't want to rehash over everything
we did talk about Walking Dead Michonne and Shovelware Cemetery, so
there you have it. So you got a little taste.
Some zombies.
A little taste of your zombies. Well, that being said, I just want to thank everybody for listening to this show. We so appreciate all of your support and everyone who takes the time to listen to. Hopefully, this show was not quite I made a promise that it was not going to be over 4 hours like our E3 show. So of those of you who battled through the E3 show or the week prior where we did 2 shows of 2 hours at least, there was a lot of content to be had.
I think we're pretty safe this week. I think we're going to be at like 2.5 hours this week.
Yeah, that should be pretty back to normal. Like I mentioned before, we've got a great summer planned of content and fun stuff to be had in the Z2Z community. Like Terrigan said during his send-off, he gets to spend more time, obviously, editing the shows and making sure that we maintain the high level of quality that we like to bring you each and every week. But he will also have an opportunity to get on providing some forums for us. We so look forward to having a place to bring all of you awesome listeners together into a community atmosphere, and we can talk achievements, games, using the tools that TrueAchievements.com provides us with boosting sessions, create Z2Z boosting sessions, create Z2Z community plays, continue to Twitch stream with our listeners, and reach out and work together to unlock achievements for the show. I can't wait. It's going to be great. And if we want to help that community build, we need your continued support through Twitter retweets, Facebook likes, podcast reviews. All of those things help spread the word of the show, and we hope you enjoy it. We hope we provide enough entertaining content that you feel like other people should listen, even if they're not achievement junkies like yourself. Because we could always use more people to help normalize a lot of these ratios on these crazy games that we have. I will recommend you go check out our website, Z2Z.com. That is where all of our show notes reside. There are great links and fun things to be found in those show notes. And, of course, you can get all the information that we mentioned here on the show, news items and links to the achievements we talk about. There is Twitter, of course, at ZZZEDTOZED. I check that every single day, and so it's a great way to reach out to the show. Nice way to contact us quickly. Of course, there's also email, contact@Z2Z.com. That is immediate because it shows up on my phone, and I hate having the little circle with the number on my mail. That needs to be blank. I need to read my mail. So if that pops up, I feel obligated to go check it out. Finally, there's a leaderboard set up at TrueAchievements.com in the interim prior to getting our forums up and going. That is the best place where we can reach out to you all as a community. With Terrigan, not recording with us, we may need to reach out and get some community hosts to help out. So Crandy and I aren't scrambling. It's summer for both of us, and we like to go out of town and enjoy our lives outside of gaming. So we might need some help, community.
What's that?
Yeah. Okay. You're right. I lied. We're going to be here all summer, but we still like to have a third on the
I'm
show.
Moving across the country this summer, so.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That might be a tough transition there.
Yeah, it'll probably only be a couple weeks, but yeah, we'll figure it out.
Well. And I'd be remiss not to have a shout out to all of the sites and avenues that we get information on these achievements and make achievement hunting a reality. This week, Polygon, GameSpot, IGN helped, Kotaku helped this week. Of course, Twitter. Oh my gosh, what a great resource with all the news feeds. Those are fantastic. And I can't leave off Microsoft for both providing news and for providing support for this awesome Xbox console. So, this week on behalf of Terrigan and Crandy, this has been Brandon. And to all you achievement hunters and Gamerscore junkies out there, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next episode.
Thanks for listening.
Terrigan can edit that out. Please,
Yeah.
Terrigan. I hope you listen to the show and edit this out.
Hold on. We'll cut this out, and then you can edit it, and I can sound smart.
Which includes an interview. And I don't remember how I introed it, so